I'll give it. Oh, guys, I'll start a little bit. I'll watch a little bit, and then I'll see.
Warning, this video contains themes of violence, death, and gang activity. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only. This video
King Von raps for serial killer.
Is not intending to incite or encourage illegal behavior in any way. Every effort has been made to remove any content which violates YouTube's community guidelines. If you'd like to see an uncut version of this video with everything that I can't show you on YouTube, head on over to patreon.com/traplawross. Supporters of the channel also get access to my recent vlogs with Academics and Adam22, as well as my old deleted King Von videos, and supporters on the $5 tier will also have access to my exclusive 4-part Patreon's over. For decades now, rap fans have been looking for the realest artists, whose lyrics paint a picture of a real life of crime that isn't embellished or fabricated. But when it comes to rappers who truly keep it real, the Chicago drill scene has dominated for the last decade. First popularized by Chief Keef, the Chicago drill wave was characterized by rappers that grew up in the most dangerous blocks in America, with these up-and-coming artists rapping plainly and honestly about what they experienced growing up. Shootings on the block, disrespecting dead enemies, and constantly being chased by the police. Chicago drill rappers took gangster rap to raw new heights, where the stories behind the music could be matched up with the local news reports on the latest homicides. However, what happens when the people doing the killing start making the music too? Because in the years after Chief Keef popularized the violent stories of Chicago gang life, one of those gangsters killing people in the streets picked up a microphone too, and started rapping in the first person from the perspective the actual killer. King Von had a reputation in Chicago as a fearless killer before he'd even started rapping, and it's widely believed, based on the statements he made in his own songs, that Von himself could have killed as many as 7 people in his career as a gangbanger, with more murders even taking place after he got rich and famous, with it being rumoured that Von used his money and influence from the rap game to have old enemies in Chicago killed, and going on a journey which, in my opinion, takes him far beyond a street player who had to kill to survive in the mean streets of Chicago, because if King Von's tweets are anything to go by, he simply loved killing people. And the sheer amount of people that King Von allegedly played a role in killing has led to intense speculation as to whether he was a full-blown serial killer, a title which King Von's enemies even said that him and his friends took personal pride in. Now, the FBI defines a serial killer as a person who kills over 3 people with time spans in between them of more than a month. Furthermore, serial killers tend to have an element of psychological gratification which plays a role in the motive for their murders. The FBI also state that a serial killer might seek various kinds of gratification through their killings, such as anger, thrill-seeking, financial gain, or simply for attention. I personally believe that over the course of his career, King Von demonstrated all of these characteristics and can indeed be classified as a serial killer. King Von frequently exhibited behavior in public that conformed with these rules, tweeting regularly about his desire to kill, bragging about having committed specific murders in his music, which attracted him international attention and Billboard charting songs, with his drill anthems about murdering rivals making him a rich man with millions in his bank account. The FBI also point out another characteristic.
I feel like this is a little bit diluted. A lot of people are very diluted to that. Like you have to be hard. You have to do all that to make it, or whatever. I feel like Yeet cut through like all these kind of ideas, right? With going to fame with his music, that is all about like just lying about things he doesn't do, about stuff that he doesn't actually partake in or whatever, right? And you just has fun with the lyrics or whatever, right? And I feel like people give it a lot of respect. People listen to it a lot without doing all that.
Characteristic of serial killers, specifically that their victims may all have something in common. For example, a demographic profile, appearance, gender, or race. And it would appear that King Von only killed young black men and women from the community he lived in. These were all people just like him, being born into a rundown part of Chicago and growing up with a lot of disadvantages. All that really separated Von from his victims were the fact that they were from a rival territory, and he believed that nobody would miss them. King Von has officially been implicated.
No, he doesn't just say doing drugs. He also say he also say something gun. Yeah, he has gun lyrics in his shit too, like.
In 4 murders, 2 where he was suspected of being involved, but the police didn't have enough evidence to charge, and 1 case where he narrowly received a not guilty verdict after a key witness disappeared and a co-defendant implicated himself. Another that he's accused of organising with 5 of his closest childhood friends. The shooting of rival rapper FBG Duck in broad daylight at a busy shopping district, Von will never face justice for due to him losing his life only months before the feds would swoop in and arrest all 5 of his close friends. This particular murder would go down as one of the most brazen assassinations carried out in Chicago since the days of Al Capone. But in total, there's over 10 murders of which King Von has been connected to over the years, and nobody has looked into all of them in great detail until now. So today, we're going to take a closer look at the man, his past, and his career to find out once and for all if King Von really was the first serial killer in hip-hop history.
He was in jail for 2 murders?
Yeah, 1 murder and 2 attempts.
4 shooters and a hail of bullets.
All of them was scattered bomb. All of them was scattered bomb.
Police found several shell casings in this parking lot.
King Von was bloodthirsty. He loved death. He loved killing.
I got a lot of fights. Just free, how many I think?
King Von had an insatiable obsession with murder and violence.
The shooting leaves 1 person dead, 4 others injured.
Hey, I know you. You ain't know me.
King Von probably would have been considered like a serial killer.
They labeled the man a serial killer. Them.
Is that Ye?
King Von, real name Davon Bennett, was born on August 9, 1994 in Chicago, Illinois, growing up on West 78th and South Hermitage in an area known as Killer Ward, an area mainly affiliated with the Chicago gangs, the Gangster Disciples, and the Black Pea Stones. Von would attend Barton Elementary School in the area, but despite starting life as a fairly normal kid in Chicago, he would be subjected to the influence of gangbanging in his family home from a young age. His father was Walter E. Bennett, aka Silk, a well-known street dude from nearby Ada Park. Von was mainly raised by his mother, as his father was in and out of jail throughout his childhood. But Von's father was apparently a legend in the streets, with ties to the street gang, the Black Disciples. However, much like Von, despite the fearsome reputation he'd earned in the streets, it would ultimately be this proximity to gang life that would lead to his father's demise, as King Von's dad Silk was shot dead when Von was only 11 years old, apparently being targeted by a sniper outside of a skating rink, according to an interview with King Von's uncle.
Rest in peace, King Von. Rest in peace, Silk. That's crazy. Like, I'm with Big Bro every day. My killer's daddy with a sniper rifle. This get deep, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sniper. I hit him with a sniper rifle. They at the skating rink, but you know, that's another story.
It seems clear that King Von's father Silk was remembered as a legend of the block. However, coping with the loss of his father at such a young age clearly had a negative effect on the mindset of a young King Von. He would tweet and rap in freestyles years later that he simply couldn't sleep after his father's death.
They killed my daddy, I couldn't even go to sleep.
And throughout his teenage years, he would post RIP tributes to his father on Twitter to commemorate his birthdays. Naturally, Von would follow in his father's footsteps, getting involved in local gang politics at a young age, with Von actually telling 16-shot and visuals in his very first interview that he got involved in the streets in 4th grade, eventually getting his hands on guns by the time he got to high school.
You was like toting pipes in 4th grade, like when you started?
I probably had a BB gun or something. It wasn't that heck, like, it ain't good. I just been, you know, in the streets with awesome. I just like being outside. One of the little boys that like sleeping out, just being outside all day, just doing bed. When the gun, all that stuff, that shit come to play to like what? High school. Yeah, like late 8th grade or 7th, 8th grade when it really got to that point where you gotta hurt somebody or somebody trying to hurt you or you gotta protect yourself.
Von would rap on the unreleased song Wait that he jumped off the porch, getting deeply involved in gang politics in 2006 when he was just 12 years old. Von would initially be a member of a local street crew affiliated with the Gangster Disciples called Killer Ward, being seen in numerous group pictures with that crew. And affiliates from the area would later post tweets suggesting that Von was indeed putting in work for this crew during his time gangbanging in Killer Ward, with Von himself corroborating that he was close to the members in Killer Ward where he was born, but making it clear that he's always been a member of the Black Disciples due to his family affiliation. Now, Von would live around Killer Ward up to around 2008 or 9, after which he would eventually move to the infamous Parkway Gardens housing development. This housing complex is notorious for its affiliations with the Black Disciples street gang. Parkway Gardens would later be referred to by insiders as O Block, but prior to that, it was referred to as Wick City. And here, King Von would meet many of the people who would end up having a huge influence on his life and career. People famous for their affiliation to O Block, whether through the gang wars going on there, or through the music that had been made about the gang war. People like Boss Top, Chief Keef, T-Roy, White, Duke, BJ, Big A, Trey 5, Sharoid, J Money, Platoon, and countless other people that played a big role in Von's life growing
Man,
up. Von would also attend a new school in the area,
this guy's
the
British
Hyde Park
accent with
Academy,
with
where
these
he would
names,
attend
man.
with people from other rival territories with affiliations to the Gangster Disciples. People like FBG Duck, who would even claim in a Twitter exchange in 2014 to have plotted to beat King Von up on the school bus, and people like Lil Marc, who Von would even be seen in throwback pictures with before their feud had escalated into something deadly. Von and his friends started out their gangbanging careers with fistfights with the ops at school, schoolyard scuffles that would unfortunately escalate over the coming years, developing into full-blown gang war with firearms involved. Over time, a teenage Von would begin getting more and more involved in Chicago's street gang conflicts, apparently bringing guns to school as young as age 13. Chop Squad, who went to school with both Von and G Herbo, would claim that Von would even show off guns in class, with it apparently being Von himself who started the trend of teenage gangbangers in their school bringing guns to class.
Von was the type of person to bring a pole to school at 13 for. Like, that's what me and Herb was talking about. He was like, he knew it was real when Von walked up to him in school. He was like, he had flashed a pole or something. He was like, Herb knew every day from there it was up. He was like, oh, we bringing guns to school? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's on now. He's like, every day from there, everybody brought guns to school. And he was like, Von was the one to start that off.
In fact, G Herbo would even later rap about this on a collaboration with Von called FaceTime, saying that Von showed him a revolver in freshman orientation, an experience which led G Herbo to begin bringing guns to school himself too. Now, King Von was apparently out of control as a youngster. According to one story, Von actually did a shooting on prom night whilst wearing his suit, after literally tweeting out that somebody better not try him in his suit. So naturally, you can imagine, Von ended up spending a significant amount of time in trouble with the law as a teenager, with large patches of his most formative years spent inside jail cells. Von went to jail for the first time around August 2010, at age 16, for armed robbery, apparently robbing someone for their car at gunpoint. Something that he would actually later refer to on his song Armed and Dangerous, saying that he was arrested on August 11th, 2 days after his 17th birthday, when he was offered 21 to 45 years in a plea deal. Von would end up spending time in boot camp, an intense military-style juvenile program, ultimately rewarding him with early release. But soon after that initial charge, Von would catch another in January 2011, ultimately spending 15 months behind bars as a juvenile, being locked up between December 2010 and March 2012. And during this time of incarceration, Von's best friend T-Roy would tweet calling for his release. Eventually, in March 2012, Von would be a free man once again, but he was only free for a matter of months, from March to November 2012. But during this time, Von would undergo a transformation, going from a gun-toting stick-up kid to a full-fledged killer after witnessing the death of one of his close friends, which, as he put it, turned him into a demon. Before we get into the first murders that King Von was allegedly involved in, I just want to take the time to consider the real reasons why he would be motivated to kill in the first place. Despite covering a lot of gangsters who are hardened killers, it's important to consider the social circumstances that need to exist for a teenage boy to start committing murders. Firstly, these areas where King Von grew up in Southside Chicago, Killer Ward and O Block, are incredibly poor and dangerous areas, with the latter even being described by the local Sun-Times newspaper as the most dangerous block in Chicago. Part of the reason why so many of these gang murders in Chicago go unsolved is due to the failure of policing in these areas. Someone like King Von grew up seeing death and destruction as a completely normal thing. And if the police never come to your area to solve crimes or deliver justice, it's easy to see why you would place more trust in street justice than in the state. Furthermore, you really have to ponder whose fault is it really that somewhere like O Block ended up being so poor and dangerous. While it's easy to blame the gangsters and killers there for cultivating a lawless environment, the city and the state politicians ultimately have failed to create the economic circumstances for someone to grow up safely in these areas. Had there been better economic prospects in the hoods of Chicago, perhaps many of these young...
I think this wording is irresponsible. Sorry, I'm gonna say how it is. When it comes down to like murders and shit like that, I'm sorry, I don't like the way this is worded at all. It's just, it feels like almost apologetic. It feels almost, I don't agree with it.
Wouldn't have been forced into a life of crime and violence. Furthermore, when it comes to the analysis of King Von's eventual transformation into what some have described as a serial killer, there's actually an argument to be made that geography may have played a part in King Von feeling like he could get away with so many murders. The 70s to the 2000s have actually been described as the golden age of serial murder, and one possible cause for this phenomenon around this period has been cited as urbanization and the concentration of inner city living. Some people have said that putting so many people in such close proximity proximity ends up offering a unique level of anonymity when it comes to committing crimes in these complicated, busy, and overpopulated areas. Put simply, this means that in O Block, the sheer amount of people, overlapping gang conflicts, and normalization of violence on the streets means that somebody like King Von could kill multiple people without attracting too much attention to him personally.
I don't defend a system or play system, but I think there's a level of accountability that people can stand up and take, right? I think to blame a certain system for a wide series of choices, a wide series of decisions and positions to take is a little bit wild, especially when it comes in close to adulthood. I think it's a little bit unreasonable, and I think it's kind of almost dangerous language to word like that, because it puts people in a position where they say, well, I had no choice. Well, I had to. Well, whatever. Okay, if you were to really play it out again, is that really the only option? Let's be honest. No. I don't agree.
As sad as it is to say, in the eyes of the cops, a victim is just another casualty of the gang war rather than a specific crime that could be solved. And it's these circumstances that were the perfect conditions for a young King Von to begin killing people in his community with minimal consequences. And whilst King Von was in jail, gun violence had raged on between the Black Disciples from Wick City and the rival Gangster Disciples from St. Lawrence and Eberhard Avenues, or STL EBT. And during this time, whilst King Von was incarcerated, a 15-year-old Gangster Disciple from the rival hood by the name of Tuka was murdered. Real name Shondale Gregory, Tuka was shot dead at a bus stop on the 600 block of East 63rd Street on the 12th of January 2011 at around 6:48 PM. It was around that time that a masked gunman jumped out of a vehicle, shooting Tuka several times. Tuka was hated by his rivals from the Black Disciples, and over the next decade, BDs would continue to disrespect him on social media and in popular songs. And in honor of their fallen
It takes decades or at least years for improvements and for programs to take an effect to actually do good for certain communities. It doesn't happen overnight or whatever, right? Like saying, oh, because this was set up poorly from the get-go, that it's all GG, and yeah, I mean, people are going to do all that, and it's a little bit.
Gangster Disciples from St. Lawrence and Eberhard would rename their area Tukaville. It's never been fully revealed to the public who killed Tuka, but ever since, there has been intense speculation that a boy named O.D. Perry from Wick City might have had something to do with it. This is partly due to him being pictured regularly with a silver revolver, and the witness report from the Tuka murder stated that Tuka was actually shot with a long-barreled silver revolver. Regardless of whether or not OD was really the person who killed Tuka, that didn't really matter, because later that year, on August the 10th, 2011, in an act of retaliation, OD Perry was killed just outside Parkway Gardens. He would suffer multiple gunshot wounds, including one to the neck, at about 11:35 PM. Just like Tukaville, Wick City was also renamed in the memory of their fallen friend OD, O Block, and it's believed that one of the shooters who killed OD was a female teenage shooter by the name of Jakira Barnes, or K.I. Following the murder, K.I. would begin to pose on social media with a silver revolver, similar to the one that OD was known to carry, and her rumoured involvement in this murder of a beloved O Block member would lead to K.I. becoming a major target herself, with matters not helped by the fact that she would regularly tweet insulting OD Perry and alluding to having killed him, along with others who would openly claim that K.I. made the O, meaning that she killed OD and was the one that caused Wick City to change the name of their block to O Block. But the tragedies in O Block were far from over. On the 18th of October 2011, another O Block native by the name of Patoon, real name Edward Riley, would be shot dead inside O Block after being approached by two people with firearms. Another devastating loss to the community would come when 19-year-old Sherroyd Liggins would be shot in the head and left for dead on February the 16th, 2012, also at O Block. This murder was particularly notable for the fact that it was believed that Sherroyd was killed by a Tukaville shooter by the name of Boss Trell. As the gang war in his neighbourhood continued to take more and more of his friends' lives, King Von would get more and more involved, continuing to play a role in the gang war going on in Chicago's street underworld. Von later rapped on the song Don't Want to Be Me that everything changed for him in 2012, and that this is when he decided to get more active in the gang war, with Von saying specifically that the deaths of OD and Patoon completely changed his plans and led him to put on a mask and get active in the gang war. Now, there's a lot of speculation about the exact murders that Von was allegedly involved in, and we might never know definitively if he was truly involved in all the violence that he was rumoured to be associated with, but the very first murder that Von was associated with took place on April the 28th, 2012, when a group of 4 men would catch a man called King Doc, real name Marlon Monroe, shooting him as he walked into a convenience store. With Doc apparently stumbling into a patch of tall weeds after the shooting, where he would pass away and lay undiscovered for hours. Doc would eventually be found dead by his 16-year-old cousin, Modell McCambry. Doc would be remembered as an original native of St. Lawrence and Eberhart Avenues, with his affiliation to the area likely the reason that the killers from O-Block would target him, despite the fact that Doc had apparently left the gang life behind him, becoming a painter to get out of the streets. Apparently hurt by the death of his cousin, Modell, that boy who discovered Doc's body, would then begin to get more involved in the gangs in the area too, beginning to hang around with people like K.I. and FBG Duck, as well as being seen on social media with guns. In fact, it's actually around this time that social media begins to play a bigger and bigger role in the gang war in Chicago. And during this time, King Von himself would become a prolific user of Twitter, beginning a flurry of activity on the platform after signing up in June 2012, and going on to tweet constantly about his activities in the streets, seemingly with no fear about incriminating himself. Von would openly claim to be drilling in the name of O.D. Perry. He would say that he was like Phineas and Ferb in the streets with his best friend and fellow O-Block shooter T-Roy, warning ops not to diss them, claiming to shoot people like it's nothing. He would tweet that he's been drilling from young and even wants to kill cops too. He would say outright that he will whack people. He would regularly diss numerous rival hoods and gangs, and be claiming to be paranoid due to having so many people trying to kill him. Von claimed on Twitter to get so enraged whenever he hears the name Tuca or St. Lawrence that his trigger finger just starts itching. But during this time that Von was tweeting openly about all the crimes that he was willing to...
I'm not saying that nobody has clout, but these tweets have 0 likes. What are the odds that nobody saw those tweets and it's almost like almost like a diary? Because it seems to me that he left all that evidence behind, whatever, right? But nobody saw those at the time, right? I mean, it was 0 likes. I mean, at least somebody would have liked it by accident or whatever. Or like
anybody.
In
the streets, these crimes would continue to play out. On August the 7th, 2012, Von would make a tweet saying that homicide is in the air and that it smells like a graveyard. Then, in the early hours of the morning the following day, on August the 8th, 2012, a group of guys from O-Block, rumored to include King Von and T-Roy, would be out looking for enemies to kill. Dirty Rel, real name Terrell Joshua, an older member with affiliations to St. Lawrence, Eberhart, and Jarrow City, who had actually moved out of Chicago but was back in town, would end up being shot dead and found on a sidewalk on the first block of East 56th Street in Washington Park just before 3:30 a.m. However, in this case, retaliation would come fast. As the day of August 8th, 2012 goes by, that same evening, around 11:30 p.m., King Von is out with his close friend White White, real name Tony Dunn. They would go to a convenience store together on East 63rd Street and South Martin Luther King Drive. Here, Von would go inside the store whilst White White waited outside. At this point, a gunman pulls up, shooting White White in the back, with a police officer on the scene even returning fire and hitting the shooter, who ultimately managed to escape. White White would be pronounced dead in the early hours of the morning on August the 9th, 2012. This date just so happened to be King Von's 18th birthday. This was a devastating incident for Von, who would tweet numerous times about the murder of his friend Whitey, including this one where he said that he had just bought Whitey a pill and gone inside the store, only coming back outside to find a crowd surrounding his shot friend and at first believing that Whitey would be okay. After this, Von would tweet messages saying that this killing is what led him to act out, and in the days following, he would be pledging to kill his enemies publicly. Von later elaborated on his mindset around this period in his song Demon, saying outright that witnessing the death of his close friend Whitey on his 18th birthday is the exact thing that turned him into a demon. And Von would rap that after this, him and his right-hand man T-Roy would be doing hits back-to-back to avenge this tragic loss. Von would apparently be trying to kill much more ruthlessly after this, desperately wanting to get at rival shooters K.I. and Wooski, who had mocked White White's death on Twitter. In September 2012, King Von and others caught K.I. on the train, apparently beating her up and mocking her on Twitter in the aftermath. Von would eventually catch up with K.I. in much more deadly circumstances, but not for a couple of years. For now, he would continue to gangbang in the streets with his O-Block brothers like T-Roy, ultimately winding up implicated in numerous murders as he continued to seek revenge for the murder of White White, and one body at a time, building up a fearsome reputation as one of O-Block's most ruthless killers.
Okay, guys, I don't really know about gang life. Like, in general, why is there friction between people? Is that because it's selling drugs on the corner and there's competition between two groups and then they have to like do that? Not always. You can say egos, but I don't know how that manifests itself into the streets.
Chicago drill
Like petty
veteran Tate
beefs,
Capone
maybe.
would tell 16 Shot and Visuals in an interview that if
escalation
you hung
of
around King
arguments,
Von in
maybe.
2012, you simply had to accept that you would be in shootouts.
If you was hanging with Von, you had to accept everything that came with Von. You had to accept that you was gonna be in shootings, accept that it was gonna be that, and you had to be with it, you feel me, with Von.
King Von was on a mission in 2012 to get revenge for the friends that he had lost to the gang war. Losing OD, Platoon and White White turned him into a demon, he said. So he would spend every day in the streets of Chicago stalking his ops and broadcasting his activities on Twitter for the whole world to see. On September the 6th, 2012, Von would get arrested, even taking selfies for Twitter inside of the cop car. He would post pictures of him and his partner in crime, T. Roy, dubbing themselves the O-Block Savages. In fact, after posting one picture together, one woman from O-Block even suggested that Von and T. Roy stop being photographed together in case somebody sends it to the police. Von would tweet how him and T. Roy's names were ringing in the streets and that people were praising them for doing their thing, regularly using this as a catchphrase to refer to his drilling, tweeting warnings to the ops that he's about to go on their block and do his thingy thing, telling them that they have 2 hours to clear the streets and promising to blast them on sight. Von would even reflect on a conversation that he had had with T. Roy, saying that they can't die soon because they know they're going to hell for all the bad things they had done in the streets. Von would even openly tweet about shooting up Dunbar High School around this time, and unsurprisingly, he would continue to be in the eyes of the law, being picked up in October for battery. But little did the police know just how serious Von's crimes were about to get in the coming weeks. On the 3rd...
See, earlier, you said that it was more of the systems problem for like all that. You know what? I'm actually gonna quadruple down and say, you know what? It's the opposite. It's the system's partial fault for not being harsher on crime and actually trying to seek for reform and repeat offenders not being either reformed or given incremental sentences or whatever that puts them into behind bars for a long time. Like, yeah, you've done 3 things, 4 things. You do a 5th one, yeah, you're done. And then putting down the hammer so that there's just some form of risk, because now it seems like this is riskless. Guys, if you go to jail 4 times for almost no time and you can get back on shit and do your thing, you're being taught by the system that the consequences to doing a thing are not a lot. So why stop?
13th of October 2012, Von tweeted that he is about to pop these pills and spaz out on somebody, expressing frustration that he hasn't taken anybody down for a while and saying that he's getting dry, perhaps a tweet with a double meaning that could refer to sex or murder. That very same day, Von would tweet that his ops party tonight is getting cancelled. Later, Von is tweeting asking for somebody to come and get him, and 30 minutes later, Von tweets simply, "Ha," followed by 45 Glock me. That very night of October the 13th, 2012, Modell, that same teen who had found the body of his cousin King Doc dead just 6 months before, would be walking down the street with another one of his cousins on their way to meet a girl, when just before 9:30 p.m, somebody approached them on foot, opening fire. Modell would be shot in the chest and later pronounced dead in hospital. No one was ever charged with this murder or attempted murder, but many years later, police documents would be released revealing that King Von himself was positively identified by a witness as the shooter, with T. Roy apparently at the scene too. This meant that King Von was the prime suspect in the murder. And not only that, but King Von would tweet immediately after the killing. Now, it's important to remember that Twitter timestamps run on Universal Coordinated Time. That's the same as UK time, and that's where I'm reading these tweets from, which is 6 hours ahead of Chicago time. So for me to get the exact time of a tweet that was made by King Von or K.I. or somebody else in Chicago, I have to take the time that it shows on Twitter and -6. I'm telling you this because Modell was shot at around 9:30 p.m. That means that King Von tweeted, "Who died?" about 17 minutes after the murder of Modell took place. And that tweet was followed by yet another one reading, "It's not safe around our way," which came less than an hour after the shooting. And Von's "Who died?" tweet would provoke responses from somebody who even knew Modell, with Von saying that the dead person is
Wait, this entire video, there's still a lot left. And then he had a career after or during? I don't get it. Did the police decide to AFK on this? I don't get it.
Somebody that they know. In addition to that exchange, the female shooter from Tukaville, K.I., would end up getting arrested not long after this for apparently shooting indiscriminately into O-Block, hoping to kill anybody in retaliation for Modell. None of this seemed to bother King Von, however, as he clearly got a lot of satisfaction out of having seemingly killed again. The day after the murder of Modell, Von would tweet that him and T. Roy have a problem and that they can't stop doing their thingy thing. Von would tweet that the streets are in trouble when he's coming, and he would brush off the cops' attempts to arrest him. In fact, only 2 days after the killing, he would get into an argument with a well-known Tuckerville GD known as Wooski on Twitter. Wooski had inferred that he had been out looking to catch Von that day, asking him where they were at, with Von leaving a heartless reply saying that he was getting t-shirts made for Modell's funeral. Unsurprisingly, Von would find himself on the radar of the police following the murder of Modell, getting picked up for unlawful possession of a firearm and being questioned in October 2012, with Von later tweeting that the cops grabbed him and warned him to be careful. Apparently the cops even told Von that when they question their ops, they all talk about him and T-Roy, suggesting that their names are feared in the streets. Von would even tweet after that his own mother was beginning to hear the rumours about his violent behaviour in the streets and she was trying to put him on punishment. But Von wasn't deterred, and he kept using Twitter to increase his reputation as a killer. The following month, Von would be sending unprovoked Twitter ats at Wooski asking if he knew who killed Modell, provoking responses from numerous ops who wanted to see Von dead, including Wooski
the
and
cops
K.I.
trolling the
And
game?
to me, this is where we see King Von really beginning to take pleasure in killing. For years to come, he would tweet mocking Modell, saying it's messed up what happened to him and that he's a straight sucker. It's this sort of behaviour where I believe that Von crosses the line from a normal gangbanger killing to survive to a full-blown serial killer who is taking the lives of others systemically for his own personal gratification. At this point, Von has already satisfied the conditions of being a serial killer, having allegedly killed more than 3 people in different locations with large periods of time in between the killings. And his tweets express a clear tendency to take pleasure in killing and a desire to show the world what he's doing. In a way, King Von's purpose in life at this point in time wasn't just revenge and murder for sport. It was about doing these crimes and giving the world clues about what he had done. And as the story goes on, you'll see King Von constantly hint towards his crimes on social media, in his music, and even on television. But now, the pattern had emerged, and Von clearly had a thirst for blood. He was becoming a talented shooter and not facing any consequences for these crimes. And so, in the coming months, Von would be rumoured to have been connected to at least 3 more murders, with the police only catching up to him when it was too late.
What?
In late 2012, Von was earning a reputation as a feared shooter in the Chicago gang wars, something he would be more than happy to...
Okay, yeah, I mean, the cops have to be deliberately trolling. At that point, it has to be some form of deliberacy, right? It's undefendable. You act like, brother, if they sat and did all the normal things for normal murders, whatever, like this would have all happened.
Broadcast to the world. Von would be seen in clips posted to social media, sliding in cars with his partner in crime T-Roy and others, throwing up gang signs and saying that they're smoking Tuka.
Yeah. Yeah. Look.
Zico. Both of the Zardells.
How is there little
and
evidence?
he'd be seen with his boys mobbing deep in trap houses.
Yeah, like these guys are showing up with fucking like latex gloves and shit like that, and fucking masks and shit, and like hazmat suits, and pick up their casings and shit, and sweep the spot, and fucking hide the. Yeah, oh fuck! No, come on now. Come on. Now.
Oh, damn! You been doing this shit all day.
And Von would even broadcast his activities rolling with the gang to the local store. Von was surprisingly open about his gangbanging life on social media, and he would be particularly active on Twitter during these violent months. He would tweet openly that he was planning to shoot at random people in traffic. He would tweet that he is STLK, or a St. Lawrence killer, and interestingly, around these times on the 18th...
Hold on.
These violent months. He would tweet...
Chat, Folks NM. Chat, is that like a faux nem thing? Is that like the same sort of like lingo?
Openly that he was planning to shoot at random people in traffic. He would tweet that he is STLK, or a St. Lawrence killer, and interestingly, around these times on the 18th of October 2012, O-Block native Chief Keef would release his hit.
It took like 11 months for me to figure it out. On faux NM grave.
Song Love So-So, a legendary Chicago drill anthem with lyrics about killing people for disrespecting O-Block. At this point in 2012, Chief Keef had become a global rap star off the back of his single I Don't Like, which was given an all-star remix by Kanye West, and ended up landing at number 73 on the Billboard charts. That song had lyrics about the gang wars in Chicago and lives being lost, and Chief Keef's music was becoming legendary for painting a picture of reality on Chicago's most dangerous block, Of course, who could forget Chief Keef's classic anthem 300, a song with lines all about the young'uns on his block gunning people down, and a track that made it famous to diss Tuka, with Black Disciple rappers beginning a trend of saying
on folks, like the allies, not foes. So it's on folks and them grave.
that they're smoking on Tuka, a sign of disrespect to Shondale Gregory, who had been killed in 2011. Now, King Von himself had an interesting relationship with Chief Keef's music. Von would tweet that him and T-Roy are the real-life people who these rappers are making their songs about. Von seemed proud of his career as a real gangster, the true story behind Chicago drill music. In fact, it seemed from his tweets that he took great pride in this. He would regularly quote lyrics from drill songs by Chief Keef and others, and he would continue with tweets expressing his intentions to shoot up the ops. In one, he says he just got a new gun and can't wait to use it, and he even claimed in one tweet to have shot a woman by mistake trying to shoot at a man, ending the tweet saying, "I don't care, same thing to me." It seemed that Von really had to tweet pretty much any street activity that he was involved in during this time. He would tweet that he hasn't touched or seen a revolver in a while, and on October the 29th, Von would tweet saying that he was avoiding T-Roy because he was winning, presumably referring to T-Roy having a superior kill counter. So Von would tweet literally saying that he was trying to catch up with T-Roy's kill counter, saying "give me until Friday," and just the day after this tweet, he would find what he was looking for. On October the 30th, Von would tweet that it's his main man T-Roy's birthday, and later that day, Von tweeted that he was drilling like OD. At 8:45 AM, Von tweeted, "check the stats," a reference to who has the most bodies in the ongoing gang war. According to the police, less than 30 minutes after this tweet was made, at around 9:13 AM, P5, aka Crack, real name Derek Johnson, would be shot multiple times in the 6200 block of South Eberhart Avenue. The 23-year-old was rushed to the hospital, but pronounced dead at 9:54 AM. The incident report would record the time of the shooting as 9:13 AM in the Chicago time zone, which on Twitter for me would display as 3:13 PM. That means that just 3 minutes before the recorded time of the shooting, Von tweeted, "laughing my ass off." Then at 9:13, the time that the police estimated the shooting took place, Von tweets his 45 makes his ass do 40 flips. And then, only a few hours after this early morning murder, just after noon, Von would tweet the early bird catches the worm, and then going on to tweet about ops making the news, saying that he does his thingy thang for real, saying that he erases people like he drew them, and tweeting that his ops aren't trying to win like he is, and saying that he is doing this for OD, Platoon, Sheroid, and White White. Von would claim to be finding a lot of things funny that evening, once again tweeting numerous times that his 40 made someone do 40 flips. As the days went by, Von's tweets would get even more bold. Just the day after the murder, he would tweet pondering whether he was messed up in the head and indicating that he thinks he's gone crazy. Things would get even more incriminating just 2 days later when Von put out a tweet reading, "Damn, Modell got killed in October, and Crack, who's gonna get killed in November? Stay tuned." And he would tweet RIP Crack and Modell, as well as tweeting asking when the funeral is. Von would even reply to K.I. and Wooski, who...
So, according to this documentary, the cops were onto him, and they were on his tail, whatever, to catch this person, right? And this guy's live tweeting kills. Okay, these guys were not onto nothing. These guys were onto the next burger, onto the next donut. These guys were onto the next coffee in the office.
Tweeted each other about going to a funeral, with Von saying that he was on his way too, and even offering them a ride. Von also tweeted at Wooski asking if he knows who made Modell World or Crack Crew, another reference to crews renaming themselves after a fallen member who's passed away. Now at this point, Von is establishing a clear pattern, getting the location of his targets, shooting them dead, and then celebrating publicly on Twitter. And within only a few weeks of the P5 incident, yet another high-profile murder would take place, with Von's involvement having been debatable, but his Twitter account telling a very different story.
You get what I'm saying? What do you mean? I mean, I'm not saying anything crazy.
In November 2012, King Von would be tweeting openly about killing. He'd say that he was the go-to guy for hits in his area. He'd also say that he was the captain of the drill team, tweeting about murder and homicide, saying that he's a hitter by himself, and that the whole of O-Block are coming for their ops.
At the end of the day, like, it would be for everybody. For the police to be better would mean that, like, they would get onto people that aren't doing all of that. Like, if you really think about it, right? If people get punished and violence doesn't like keep cycling, whatever, right? Then a lot of people's friends and whatever like don't die.
He would even tweet that he was sacrificing people, as well as bizarre tweets about how much he liked cereal, something that I personally believe was a coded message indicating that Von was beginning to see himself as a serial killer, something that he would continue to do throughout his career. From here, Von would continue tweeting about wanting to shoot his ops in the face and get up close and personal, alluding to committing murder and tweeting that he had big balls and does things that other people would only dream of doing. King Von would boldly tweet that he will never get convicted of a murder, saying that he would never set himself up to go down for a body. He would mock his ops, saying some make it out alive and some make it onto the news and die. Also during this time, Von would even react to Barack Obama winning the 2012 election, something ironic considering the fact that Michelle Obama apparently also hailed from O Block. But even in celebrating this monumental news, Von would also tweet that a black president with ties to his city simply wouldn't stop him from killing his ops. On November the 7th, 2012, Von would tweet about bodies dropping and beating the case. Later that evening, he would tweet that he was out sliding with T. Roy, who he himself would also tweet saying that he's about to go and get his gun, before replying to K.I, who had just tweeted a list of a bunch of names of people associated with O Block who had been killed, with T. Roy retaliating, providing his own list of people from K.I.'s hood who they had apparently killed, as well as tweeting #bang just after midnight. Then, the following morning, the news would report on the shooting of a 17-year-old by the name of Rodney Stewart, aka Boss Trell. Boss Trell had been found with a gunshot wound to the head around 6:50 AM and was immediately rushed to hospital. And he would even remain alive for several hours, during which time he was visited by friends from the neighborhood like FBG Cash. But while Boss Trell was in the hospital fighting for his life, Von and T. Roy would be tweeting. T. Roy tweeted "man down" only hours after the body was discovered, with Von tweeting #thestruggle, prompting T. Roy to infer that Von was behaving like the police. Von would follow up on this tweet, saying that people aren't dying on time, and T. Roy would also tweet mockingly, saying "no, Trell, stay alive." Then, in since deleted tweets, allegedly by King Von, he would suggest that he had actually spent the day trying to get K.I. on the phone. However, Boss Trell would be pronounced dead that night at 11:30 PM on the 8th of November 2012. And the following day, King Von would take to Twitter once again to mock Boss Trell and his ops. He would tweet that STL doesn't stand for St. Lawrence, but instead for steady taking L's. Another tweet would drop, with King Von telling people, "Don't worry about who killed who, just be glad that you didn't get killed and shut
I'll watch it."
This was followed by another tweet aimed at Boss Trell, saying "lol, you ain't a boss to me." Many theories suggested that T. Roy and Von, and possibly others, were involved in this murder. Some have said
better policing and a better system and a better government and fucking plans means less bloodshed. I cannot fathom the idea that people wouldn't be for less bloodshed overall. Like, it means if people win and they make money, it's a better life. They have a career and stuff to do.
That it was T. Roy, others have said that it's Von, or potentially even the two of them together. But it is worth mentioning that there's an alternative theory that Boss Trell was actually murdered by someone completely unrelated to this feud, who was apparently trying to retrieve a gun that had been taken from him. But regardless of who was responsible, Von and T. Roy were certainly happy to see Boss Trell gone, and they would continue to tweet boldly about it publicly. Their ops on Twitter would warn T. Roy over the disrespect, but for King Von, tweeting about the murders going on in the streets was a must. Von would post saying that the ops are dying frequently and that he doesn't plan on slowing down. He would say that he will kill an op anywhere, and once again reference cereal, saying that he eats cereal after shooting people, another hint in the ongoing joke that Von is indeed becoming a serial killer. Von would even mock the ops for having funerals. He simply didn't care what anybody thought. It seemed that Von was hellbent on killing his enemies, and he would be hellbent on tweeting every single time something negative occurred in the streets. However, Von's days would be numbered, and following the next hit that he was implicated in, he would tweet once again, perhaps a little too recklessly this time, finding himself behind bars for over a year.
I'd have to see the details of that. That sounds...
After the deaths of Modell, P5, and Boss Trell, you would think that King Von would have kept a low profile. But no,
year for what?
He would continue to tweet suspiciously while the killing continued. However, when the next person lost their life, King Von's tweets would go to a whole nother level of self-incrimination. He would actually find himself on the wrong side of the law. On the 19th of November 2012, 32-year-old man named James Holman, aka Lil James, would be standing on his porch on the 6000 block of South Michigan Avenue around 8:20 PM. At this point, 4 people would approach his property, opening fire, shooting him in both the arm and chest, with him being pronounced dead in hospital less than an hour later. Only 23 minutes after this murder, Von would tweet, "Man, not on anything," followed by another tweet reading, clown ass. Von was mocking somebody, but we didn't know who or what for. Meanwhile, T-Roy would put out a tweet asking if somebody got shot yesterday. And then, only 6 hours after the shooting, Von would tweet that he kills GDs often. And then, in another rare deleted tweet that somebody else from O-Block quote tweeted just 21 minutes later, Von would apparently brag that he has killed 5 GDs and shot 10. With a later news article even confirming that James Holman, the man who was killed most recently, was indeed a gangster disciple. Furthermore, a police report on the Lil James murder would describe the shooter's height and build, which apparently matched Von's description. Now, Von tweeting that he had killed 5 GDs after the death of Lil James is particularly interesting, because there's always been a lot of speculation on exactly how many people Von had killed and who specifically he was responsible for killing. And at this point in time, Von had been associated with 6 murders in total. So, if Von himself is apparently confessing that he has killed 5 people—
Why did he blur this out, the guns, earlier, but not this one?
At this point, then it's likely that just one of these murders he had nothing to do with. From here, Von would continue to tweet throughout the day, saying things like dissing him will get your people killed, and another asking openly who made Crack Block, another reference to the murder of Crack, or P5. Unsurprisingly, the authorities would catch up with Von just 3 days after the murder of Lil James. Perhaps they'd read his tweets. Von's capture would be confirmed by a tweet from his sister from his own Twitter account saying that he would be in jail for Thanksgiving, with Von's charges later being revealed as unlawful possession of a firearm. Numerous mugshots of Von would later circulate online, and Von would end up in jail for over a year, for a period spanning from November 2012 to February 2014. And in the meantime, his mother, sister and friends would all tweet from his Twitter account calling for Von's freedom and keeping his name alive. However, Von's sister would also tweet that Von told her that when—
No shot. This has to be some bullshit like, oh dude, the prosecution fucking doesn't want to spend that much time doing all this or whatever, and courts are clogged and whatnot, there's too much shit going on. Let's just do that, whatever, because otherwise it's gonna be like long trial, whatever. There's no shot. They probably devalued, right? There's no way that's all you would get was with unlawful possession.
When he gets out of jail, he's just planning on killing more people. And ultimately, none of the more serious charges would even stick to Von, and he would eventually end up being released back onto the streets of O-Block, where he would, as expected, immediately get back to doing what he loved, drilling and then tweeting about it. King Von's sister would announce from his Twitter account on February the 11th, 2014 that he would be home from jail tomorrow, with footage of Von cutting off his ankle monitor and throwing up gang signs circulating online after his release. When he got back out, he would be back on the streets and involving himself in gang politics once again. His first tweet out was dissing the ops, of course. He would also openly wonder where T-Roy went, as apparently his partner in crime had ended up in jail himself during this time. Also upon his release, Von would also tweet at famous names in the Chicago drill scene like Boss Top, Lil Reese, Chief Keef, E-Day, Rondo No. 9, and Capo. He would then go on to diss 2 people that he allegedly killed, Modell and Crack, but at least initially, it didn't appear that Von was able to commit any more acts of violence, because apparently, following his release, he would wind up on house arrest for a short period. But that didn't stop him from posting pictures of himself at home, dissing Tuka with a gun sticking out of his pocket. Pictures of Von with famous BD hitters like T-Roy and D-Rose would circulate around this time, with the likes of Chief Keef even reposting them as a sign of respect for the most feared local shooter.
Okay, well now I'm convinced, yeah. The police doesn't give a fuck. The system doesn't give a 1 ounce of fuck about any of this.
With Von also sharing pictures of his crew to Twitter openly, with the caption simply reading, gang members. Von would also tweet about it being a very scary year for the ops, even tweeting disrespectful collages featuring photographs of rivals who had been killed recently. Von didn't care one bit what he was posting on Twitter, and honestly, it didn't seem like the police cared either. Von tweeted openly that he will kill someone on St. Lawrence, promising to shoot ops in the face and kill them fast, dropping mocking tweets about people he had allegedly killed like Modell. He would pledge to drop even more bodies, even tweeting that he was shooting as soon as he got off house arrest, and tweeting that he just got a new gun and he wanted to do a drive-by with it. Now, on March the 25th, 2014, GD rapper Lil Marc, associated with a crew called 051, would drop a song called No Competition. This would be a remix of Black Disciple rappers Lil Durk and Lil Reese's 2013 song Competition. Lil Marc would essentially use Lil Durk's beat to diss him and his OTF crew from Lamron. But it wasn't just Durk that was getting dissed. Lil Marc would diss numerous people associated with the Black Disciples, including people from both O-Block and an affiliated crew of BDs known as 600. Lil Marc's song would mock...
At this point, isn't it insane to think that the police probably thinks, okay, this guy will kill this guy, will kill this guy, will kill this guy, and they don't have to prosecute this or that or this or that. They save themselves maybe 2,000 man hours from the fucking prosecution or whatever. Fuck it.
O.D. Perry and J Money, and see him rapping openly that he is a Black Disciple killer, as well as proudly repping his affiliations to his gang set 051 Young Money. This song made Lil Marc a huge target for both O Block and 600, and around this period, King Von would frequently tweet that he was in traffic, riding around the city, armed and looking for ops to kill. On March the 28th, 2014, Von would tweet that he was in traffic, tagging D Rose, an infamous shooter from the O Block affiliated set 600, with D Rose himself tweeting that the cops hate to see Von, T-Roy, and him all together. Von would tweet gunshot emojis around 10 AM on the 28th of March 2014, and only a few hours later, that very same day, around 1:30 PM, it's believed that a large group of gang members were riding around in a silver minivan with Florida license plates, most likely a stolen car. Meanwhile, a 20-year-old Mark Campbell, aka Lil Marc, was at a bus stop on the 300 block of East 51st Street. It's believed that that minivan pulled up and a masked man jumped out, shooting Lil Marc in the head, with Mark ultimately being pronounced dead at the scene only minutes later at 1:41 PM, and that minivan connected to the shooting being found in flames at 6:30 PM that very night. It's widely believed that D Rose was the shooter, with King Von being present for this murder.
Bro, is that a poll? Is that a fucking Reddit poll?
D Rose even posted a clip to social media of him and his friends returning to the scene of the crime and filming, where King Von can allegedly be heard in the background of the car.
Hey, it's a 251st. Damn, body down. I was not going to see you on the bro. I'm not. Tweaking, bro.
Chiracology? No, stop.
51st. Gang. Man,
D Rose would tweet, "Call 'em, never heard of 'em," with a laughing face just 36 minutes after the killing. King Von would tweet, just 42 minutes after the shooting, "Die why?" with a bunch of laughing faces, with this being a sign of disrespect to Lil Marc's gang 051 Young Money. That tweet was then followed by Von saying 051 better keep their head up, with a bunch of laughing emojis. Then he says he lives for this, F the ops. And just in case there was any doubt about King Von being present for that murder, he would also reply to somebody on Twitter discussing Lil Marc, saying outright he just saw the murder, with King Von going on to tweet at other O Block affiliates that they would be celebrating that night. Von was speaking so recklessly on Twitter, his sister would even tell him to go in the house, with the defiant Von replying to her with gunshot and demon emojis, then tweeting that Lil Marc's death was getting him attention from women, even going as far to say that Lil Marc's pregnant girlfriend might have cheated on him, followed by another tweet a few days later where Von claimed that he leaves people dead at the bus stop just like Tuka, a tweet that's even more disrespectful when you learn that Lil Marc was actually Tuka's older brother. D Rose would also tweet the day after the murder.
You know, here's an insane take. Yeah. I feel like maybe people won't see it that way, right? But if you really think about it, right? People that make it in a rap music, right? Gangster music or whatever, right? And make it without doing anything and just kind of faking it or whatever, like with lyrics and making good music, is actually saving a lot of people's lives. If you think about it, I think a lot of people do that for the music, for the whatever, and it's like almost like a way out. But showing people that you can make it without doing none of that, right? I think that's actually helping it. No? Okay.
Saying you ain't gotta ask who shot him, indicating that he was indeed the shooter of Lil Marc, as well as proudly saying that he was smoking on Marco. But Von and D Rose weren't the only ones celebrating the death of Lil Marc, because Lil Durk, the original subject of Lil Marc's diss song No Competition, released just 3 days before he was killed, would end up making a trip to the very bus stop where Marc was gunned down, with Durk telling his followers that this was a very special place.
Hey, this bus stop right here though, this is a real famous place, you hear me? This is a real famous place, big. Hey, this bus stop is a real famous place, big. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Because of all of the attention from rappers about this incident, Lil Marc's death became news beyond the local Chicago papers, with this killing taking place during the heyday of DJ Academic's War in Chirac series, where Academics would report satirically on the Chicago drill scene and the shocking crimes going on within it. King Von himself would even go on to rap about killing people at bus stops many years later, as well as on the song Exposing Me, where he says that he is smoking Lil Marc and Tuka. And Lil Durk would go on to do the same thing, rapping in the December 2014 track War with E-Day 600, also saying that he is smoking Lil Marc and Tuka. Now, it's never been definitively confirmed who killed Lil Marc, but it's widely believed that the two most likely hitters are D. Rose or King Von. But whether or not King Von actually did it, he clearly got a lot of gratification from just witnessing this murder, further fueling this strange bloodlust that he was cultivating around this time. If he wasn't the one killing, then he would at least want a front row seat and an opportunity to tweet about it. However, it would be the next murder that would seemingly be Von's most proud moment in the streets, because he would end up finally catching somebody who he had wanted to get for years, leaving clues on Twitter all the way up to the killing. And then, in an insanely twisted turn, not only would Von get away with the murder, but he would go on to appear in a documentary interview about the victim without anybody even working out that the killer that they were looking for was sitting right in front of the camera. 17-year-old gangster disciple Jakira Barnes, aka K.I., was a legendary figure in Chicago gang history, with the Chicago Sun-Times describing her in a prominent feature as a prolific female assassin in the Chicago gang war. K.I. has been described as the real-life Snoop from The Wire, a reference to the masculine female killer from HBO's crime drama. K.I. herself had been close with Tuka growing up, and her rumoured involvement in the killing of O.D. Perry in Retaliation would make her feud with O-Block deeply personal. No doubt King Von was obsessed with K.I. Von and K.I. would have extensive back and forths on Twitter, with it being unclear whether he was trying to date her or kill her. Their first interaction occurred on September the 25th, 2012, when Von would tweet claiming to have beaten up an op girl on the train, with K.I. replying to this saying their arm, ear and face were injured, but she's not bothered because her gun will put a hole in her ops faces, with the tweet the following day indicating that she had perhaps shot at Von or somebody that he knows. They would go on to have a back and forth, with Von asking K.I. if she's a gangster or a bitch, with K.I. indicating that she is indeed a real gangster. Von would go on to reply to her posts shouting out her gang, asking her why he never sees her when he spins the block, with K.I. replying that Von can die just like White White, with Von saying she better kill him because he will kill her and she doesn't have the good aim like he does. That same day, K.I. would tell her followers to retweet if they think she looks good. King Von retweeted it. K.I. would tweet saying that she'd beaten up someone from O-Block and that they should go and tell Von that she is tough. This would prompt a reply from Von, where he would say he can tell that she's tough, and jokingly asking her if she's looking for a boyfriend, as well as expressing doubt that she had even beat up his friend, with her replying saying she'd caught an O-Block member on the train who had denied being from there when beaten up, with King Von's sister chiming in claiming to have been there too, and K.I. saying that her victim didn't even punch her back. All this provoked a sarcastic reply from Von, where he said that he thinks he was falling in love with this fighting female. Von would later post tweets where he said that he's going to treat her right if she becomes his wifey, and later beginning to regularly refer to her as wifey. When K.I. replied to Von would say that he has her on his mind a lot and that he misses her, even telling his sister that he wanted to marry K.I. Now, many years later, somebody on 4chan would claim to have hacked K.I.'s private DMs on Twitter, and revealing that around this time, Von had DM'd K.I. asking her if she wanted to hook up, or more specifically saying he wants to nail her. She would reply saying she's not interested, to which Von replies, when all of this is over, he will have her. More alleged tweets would see K.I. asking Von straight up if O-Block are plotting to kill her, to which Von replies, he's not gonna lie, there are people looking to kill her. But Von would say he doesn't think he can kill her, because he thinks she seems cool as hell, even having the nerve to ask her when she's going to stop gangbanging. K.I. would reply saying she's not going to stop, calling King Von a goofy and asking him when he's going to stop. Von would laugh and tell her that he's gangbanging until he dies, and that he will never lose or quit, with K.I. ultimately agreeing with this and saying that she's planning the same thing, before mocking Von, saying
goofy.
He must feel really threatened by her, and questioning if he really thinks they can kill her. Von replies saying that they're trying to kill anyone, they're not just desperate for her specifically, before revealing that he had apparently had his gun on him when he beat her up on the train, but saying he didn't kill her because the police were there along with a woman from his block, with Von saying that if he really wanted to kill her, he would have took his chances and shot her in the train or the street. In response to this, K.I. would reply, "Come and get it," because she's ready to go to war with anyone, with Von clapping back, questioning why she takes things so seriously. After this alleged private exchange, Von would reply to a public tweet of hers dissing O.D. Perry, and reminding her that he beat her up, even saying that he wishes he'd spat on her afterwards. Now, Von began to use K.I. pretty much for entertainment, beefing her on Twitter whenever he was bored, but K.I. would be looking for Von in real life however, Von would tweet that he has his ops scared at the corner store, and K.I. would reply saying that she's on the way looking for him. Also tweeting asking where he is, with Von replying sarcastically telling her to be safe in the streets. More alleged leaked DMs between K.I. and Von would emerge, with K.I. asking Von where he was, with the two of them seemingly arranging a shootout, with K.I. even asking if T-Roy can come too. K.I. later claimed to have walked through O-Block and not seen a soul, with Von saying that they're too busy to have a shootout right now. Von would later allegedly DM K.I., telling her to call him when she's ready to put a dress on and let her hair down. They'd keep going back and forth on Twitter publicly, building up this insane public history. K.I. tweeted that she was going to the store, and Von would warn her not to. Von would tweet reminding her that he had beaten her up on the train, with her saying that he's been hiding ever since. Von would clap back, asking when she's coming back to his block for a date, and K.I. would then remind Von of all the times that people from her side had beaten him up. Other O-Block members would tweet their intentions to kill K.I. too, and she would tweet that she wants to see King Von face to face, and Von would reply, she really doesn't. One tweet would see Von say that he'd spent all day trying to get K.I. on the phone, and that her voice sounded sexy. Even after Von went to jail in 2013, Von's sister would tweet at K.I., saying that Von had asked her to go and visit him in jail, with Von's sister later suggesting that she had even had a fistfight with K.I. and saying that she will see her on 63rd, perhaps for another fight. When Von was released from jail in 2014, he would tweet at K.I. and ask if she missed him, with her replying, asking when they're meeting up, and adding 4 gun emojis, with Von expressing disappointment that K.I. didn't come and see him in jail like he'd asked. Now, bear in mind, tweeting at K.I. was one of the first things that Von did upon getting out of jail. He tweeted her twice before he had tweeted at Chief Keef or any of his actual friends from O-Block. He was obsessed, but K.I. would continue to mock Von, asking him how it felt for his friends to die while he was in jail, even retweeting Von's own tweet, saying rest in peace J Money, and going on to insult him in a tweet of her own. This was a reference to Von's friend J Money from O-Block, who had been killed in September 2013 whilst he was in jail, with Von retaliating, saying rest in piss to Crack and Modell, with Von even later tweeting that he can't be mad at women unless they're ops, in which case they can die. And another tweet saying how desperate he was to catch a female op. Von and K.I. would tweet at each other much less in 2014, perhaps because Von was looking to reduce the paper trail leading to him if K.I. wound up dead. But in the days following Lil Marc's death in April 2014, Von would release some brazen tweets. On the 1st of April, he would tell a friend that he would never start rapping and that he prefers killing ops, and tweeting that he had bodies on his gun. On the 6th of April, K.I. would tweet saying, people won't get the picture until you put them in the frame, along with a gun emoji. That same day, Von would tweet saying if you're not where I'm from, you will get killed. That was followed the next day by Von tweeting that he was always looking for a woman and he can't find her, and saying he will stop looking and let her look for him. He would then go on to tweet on the 10th of April that there's some women he would do anything for, telling her to just hit his line. That would be followed by another tweet saying if a girl leaves him, then she's leaving the best, with it unclear if he's talking about her leaving him or her leaving this earth. That was followed by more tweets where Von would say if a girl is with the ops, then she's getting shot, and that he's not playing with op girls this summer and they should watch out. In the early hours of the next morning, K.I. would make the ominous tweet, in the end, we die, as well as tweeting her apparent location just off.
Okay, I don't act like I know, but I feel like some of these tweets could be anything. It's kind of hard because we don't know the social clues. We don't know. We know the ongoings of what happens in real life when people meet or whatever. There's just so much contextual stuff missing that we don't know.
Off 63rd. Later that afternoon, K.I. would be standing on a nearby porch in the 6400 block of South Eberhard Avenue, only a 3-minute walk towards O-Block from the location that she had tweeted she was at earlier that day. And that was the day that King Von would allegedly find that woman that he had been looking for all this time, as K.I. would indeed be gunned down on April the 11th, 2014. The murder report on K.I.'s death would feature a witness describing the shooter who hopped out of a car, catching K.I. and another man who were about to shoot dice. They would run into a gangway, but the shooter kept firing, apparently even shouting, yeah, bitch ass N-words, as he fired the handgun at K.I. multiple times. She would be shot 9 times and declared dead just 2 hours later.
For Chantel Brown, the statistics are more than just numbers. Within 12 short hours across Chicago, 14 people were wounded, 2 people killed, one of them being Brown's oldest child.
I'm just going to miss her presence. She was a very, very beautiful, well-known, liked
lovely girl. 17-year-old Jakira Barnes loved basketball, her friends, and being with family. It's still under investigation what exactly happened Friday afternoon in the 6400 block of South Eberhard, but neighbors say Barnes and a friend were walking along the sidewalk when a gunman started firing.
When the bullet hit, it was so powerful, she fell on the step.
Residents who do not want to be identified say Barnes fought to live, but had been shot at least 9 times.
In the jaw, in the neck, and in the chest, and in the leg. 9 times, they said.
Barnes was transported to Northwestern where she died, and tragically for this neighborhood, it wasn't the first child lost to gunfire.
And Von would go on to tweet just hours after K.I. was pronounced dead, saying that he loves his gang and they love him, before tweeting, mad that nobody misses him. And this was followed by people confirming that K.I. had been killed. O-Block veteran Jay Hood would reveal in a Cam Capone interview many years later that Von came back to O-Block and told him what he'd done immediately after the murder.
But he literally say just like this, I'm looking straight, he meant why I just run up on K.I. and why I just ran up on them and caught K.I. She was the last one running out of the gate. I was like, no way.
The day after the hit, Black Disciple rapper Lil Reese would tweet Von's catchphrase saying that he does his thing, seemingly a congratulatory post to Von, who replied saying, you gots to. Von would later tweet that he needs a real bitch, and over the next few days he would once again deliver a flurry of activity on Twitter, tweeting that his ops don't scare him and that the whole gang war is funny to him. He would say that he's lost a lot of friends, so his enemies must die in retaliation. Von would also tweet saying that people wouldn't believe the things that he does in the streets, and saying that he will never tell. Von would even copy K.I.'s earlier tweet from the week before her murder about people not getting the picture until you put them in the frame, as well as tweeting at her, saying he misses his old girl. Von was clearly in a celebratory mood following the murder of K.I., and he would go on to make post after post referencing the ongoing gang war, posting tributes to T. Roy, telling his incarcerated friend that he was going crazy on the streets while he was locked up. Von was seemingly proud of himself for all he was achieving in the streets at this point. He would seemingly update his body count to 6, openly tweeting homicide in the air and that he made 6 people extinct for playing hard. Von would even post his own mugshot saying they should have never freed him because he's a menace. He tweeted that he put people's brains in their lap and asked his followers if they would still be there for him when he gets 100 years in jail. Von would suggest that he is only competing in kill counts with T-Roy, suggesting that those two were the most deadly people in the streets at this time, and he would claim to wake up in the morning thinking of nothing but killing people. Other rappers and well-known figures around Chicago drill would continue to tweet congratulating King Von after this murder, people like Lil Reese and Boss Top, and Von would also tweet on April the 28th that there's only 2 places for a man like him, presumably jail or hell. Clearly, he must have had an inkling, as he would end up being picked up in connection to the murder the following day, on the 29th of April. But Von would never be formally charged with K.I.'s murder. He would deny even knowing her and would initially offer to do a polygraph test, as well as providing a loose alibi, relying on a woman claiming that she had been with him the entire day of the murder. Combine that with the fact that Von had apparently checked in with his parole officer just an hour before the murder worked in his favour, despite the crime scene being only 35 minutes from the parole office, meaning that Von had over 25 minutes spare to get there and kill K.I. immediately after signing in with his PO. As a result of these slick maneuvers, Von would indeed be released the next day and face no further consequences in this situation. And he would tweet that he beat that case like Rocky and that he was in a good mood, showing love to everyone but the ops. That was followed by him tweeting laughing faces and saying that he was grateful to be free and that he's too real. A few days later, Von would be tweeting that he beats bodies and that he doesn't plan on going to prison, as well as seemingly referencing K.I.'s resemblance to Snoop from The Wire and calling her a dead op. Years later, Von would even go on to brag about killing K.I. on songs after he started rapping, famously saying on the track War With Us that he put a pretty op bitch in the morgue, you can call her drop dead gorgeous, as well as saying that he keeps a strap like K.I. on the song GTA. For years following this murder, people, including myself, speculated on whether King Von had killed K.I., or whether it was the work of fellow O-Block hitter Big A, who reportedly went by the nickname Asky, or Ask K.I., after her death, suggesting that he had something to do with her killing. But in lyrics to King Von's leaked song Wait, he seemingly rapped about the day that he caught K.I., with lyrics a lot of people believe would allude to Von jumping out of the car and chasing K.I. down the alley, with Big A being the driver. Von would also rap on the song Cousins that he kills women and men and can't tell the difference. But it wasn't just Von. Lil Durk would also rap in December of 2014, the year that K.I. was killed, on the song War with E-Day, seemingly suggesting that he had owned a gun that was used in K.I.'s murder. Now, rapping about someone that you killed is one thing, But King Von actually went on to do one of the most psychopathic things I have ever seen. Because on May the 23rd, 2019, a documentary about K.I. would air on A&E titled Secret Life of a Gang Girl. This piece goes in depth into the life of K.I., exploring her motivations to become a gang member despite being a petite young woman, as well as interviewing some of the people that knew her during this time. And that documentary about K.I. would interview none other than King Von, who was featured prominently in the documentary, and if you ask me, he was just straight up trolling the TV crew, who clearly hadn't done their homework. Von would appear in the show, portraying himself as having been an infatuated admirer pursuing K.I. for nothing but romantic reasons. And the fact that the film crew didn't even have an inkling that Von was responsible is just crazy to me. And it's not like the info that he killed K.I. wasn't already circulating out there at this point. Because while Von is in jail for his next murder in 2016, word of his story as a shooter in the Chicago gang war would spread on the edgy message board 4chan, where a gang-obsessed 4chan member would claim to have accessed K.I.'s private DMs, exposing those private messages which we already saw between King Von and K.I. all the way back in 2012. With this deranged 4chan user even replying to friends of K.I. from her account who had continued to DM her after her death looking for closure, with that 4chan hacker writing a lengthy post claiming to have been told by a friend of K.I.'s in the DMs that they believed King Von was her killer. Bear in mind, this information was floating around all the way back in 2016, 2 years after the murder and 3 years before the documentary.
Bro, 4chan
However,
is something else, man.
A whole year after Von's death, in 2021, the Chicago police would release documents revealing that they believe
if most people that do this shit on 4chan spend that energy onto stuff in real life, I swear to you, they would have the elixir to immortality. They would have the cure to cancer. You could levitate, actually.
King Von himself to be K.I.'s killer, with apparently multiple witnesses pinning Von as the shooter, but unfortunately the state decided not to prosecute, stating that the case simply wouldn't meet the burden of proof to secure a conviction. So, King Von would be released back on the streets after having allegedly killed the girl he had seemingly spent years hunting down. But only a month and a half later, Von would go on to catch yet another murder, which would finally land him in jail, and just briefly putting a stop to his serialized killings.
Also, NVIDIA conference coming up in 10 minutes.
After being questioned about the K.I. murder and being released with no consequences, King Von felt invincible. The month is May 2014, and Von had seemingly killed a total of 6 people at this point. As usual, he'd be on Twitter non-stop, hinting at his actions in the streets, asking God for forgiveness for killing his ops, and saying that he shoots first and asks questions later. He would tweet that he's in a different league when it comes to killing, and others need to catch up, and telling the world that he's always armed and ready for his ops. Clearly Von was active in the streets, as well as on Twitter, claiming to be driving through his ops area literally as he was tweeting, and saying that he has an itchy trigger finger. Von would claim that anybody can get smoked for the right price or cause, warning his ops not to come near him or he will shoot. Von would claim to never be putting his gun down because too many people have died in the gang war, taunting his ops, saying he knows that they want him, but it's not his time to die. Von would even repost a viral clip from WorldStar titled "When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong," a video apparently showing a group of people filming themselves going to Chief Keef's neighborhood and getting shot at. A clip that people would later claim was actually King Von doing the shooting. I mean, just imagine having the balls to shoot at people and then retweet the WorldStar video of you shooting at them. The same day as this, Von would claim that he's buying guns with 100-round magazines and wondering who he's going to shoot.
Chad, this is what I was doing on the GTA server, literally.
As well as saying that he'd been gangbanging all day and now he's tired out. The following day, Von would tweet saying that others wouldn't do half of the stuff that he's done and plans to do in the streets, and Von would say that he plans to keep scoring until he wins. Only 2 days after that, Von would find himself attempting to score again. On the 29th of May 2014, an afternoon party would be going on at 5722 South LaSalle Street. Von would attend this party where he spotted 2 members from the rival gang. At this point, the mother of the person whose birthday party it was apparently told Von not to start trouble in her house, with Von saying that he wouldn't and leaving. Von would leave the party and go and get a friend, Big Mike, apparently telling another person who was still at the party on the phone that he was coming back and that they should take the children inside. Von and Big Mike would return to that party, parking down the street and approaching a group of 3 men outside the house, opening fire. 3 of those men would be hit by gunshots, whilst Von chased them, allegedly yelling, "Why are you running?" And when the shooting stopped a 19-year-old man by the name of Malcolm Stucky would be declared dead with a gunshot wound to the head. The Chicago police would respond to the shooting at 6:10 p.m, arriving on the scene where police were pictured securing the location around Malcolm's body. Apparently Von was really trying to kill 2 rival gang members that he saw at the party, ultimately hitting 3 people but only killing Malcolm, who allegedly wasn't the intended target or even involved in the gang war. Perhaps this is why we never hear King Von in his career disrespecting or saying that he's smoking Malcolm like he did to many of the other people that he was rumoured to have killed. But there would still be hints at his involvement, because while Malcolm had been laying in the street with a bullet in his head for several hours, only 12 minutes before he'd officially be pronounced dead, Von would tweet saying that he has some issues but he cannot tell a soul about them. Meanwhile, Boss Top from O Block would tweet that Von is the guy who sits people down if they run up. Now, it would take nearly 2 months for the authorities to connect Von to this murder, and during this time, he would continue to be prolific posting on Twitter. He would tweet that he was on the block with his gun in the early hours of the morning, just the day after the murder of Malcolm, and tweeting that all of the things that people are hearing about are him. He's the one responsible. He would tweet saying that he's killed so many ops that he doesn't have any more feelings. He'd also tweet that it's all fun and games until somebody you know is no longer breathing. And he would tweet saying that he did all of this on parole and just wait until he gets off, with a demon emoji. And in another deleted tweet that was apparently reposted by somebody else, Von openly tweeted saying that he wanted to go on an all-out killing spree. However, King Von's crime spree would ultimately be cut short on prom night of all nights. Von would be pictured holding a gun at O Block in his suit in the hours before prom, and he would even tweet warning people not to try him while he's dressed in his suit. Von would then end up doing a shooting in his prom suit with witnesses describing his outfit, ultimately leading to his arrest. Von's last tweet would be on June the 7th, 2014, the ominous statement, "Loose screws get nailed." He would end up being arrested on firearms charges on prom night, and then the following month, on the 22nd of July 2014, Von's accomplice in the murder of Malcolm Stucky, Big Mike, ended up getting charged with murder and being taken in for questioning by the police. Then, 2 days later, on July the 24th, 2014, King Von, already in jail, would be charged with 1 count of first-degree murder for the killing of Malcolm Stucky and 2 counts of attempted murder for the other 2 people shot in that incident. Von's arrest for this crime would attract significant media coverage, and he would remain in jail awaiting trial from June 2014 to December 2017. And during that time, his people would tweet from his Twitter account saying that they missed him, asking for visitors to come see him on his birthday, and posting clips and pictures of him in jail during his visits.
Let's go.
What's up, you miss me, man?
Yeah.
You lying.
No, I'm not.
You got the money from mama?
No, it's still a whole car.
About the syrup. I'm flexed up. Holla.
You're ugly.
You just gotta bring your regular soda. But don't be stank.
But while Von was in jail, he would raise hell, apparently helping to start a huge fire on the wing in April 2017. He would constantly get into fights with his ops, apparently never turning down confrontations.
That's why I can say Von had over 20 fights in that. He was. He talk about jail, he talk about that shit like it's a rite of passage. Like every was a street like him. He was like jail. That's why he was always in that, because he never cared about jail. That's how he was able to be the type of he was in the streets, because some of these savages, like, and you supposed to do shit with that in the back of your mind, like knowing, like, man, go south, go to jail. Well, shorty sliding up on my, like, the police don't even exist. He just smoke you broad day.
Von would remain in jail for an extended period of time.
I will watch the rest of this later, probably. Guys, 3 hours shot. I don't mind doing like 2 or 3 blocks of this.
Some of these savages, like, and you supposed to do shit with that in the back of your mind, like knowing, like, man, go south, go to jail. Well, shorty sliding up on my, like, the police don't even exist. He just smoke you broad day.
Von would remain in jail for an extended period of time, around 3.5 years in total, and during his time in jail, he picked up the nickname Grandson, apparently for his resemblance in image as well as temperament to the Black Disciples founder David Barksdale, also known as King David. It's obvious that King Von took a lot of inspiration from the original founder of the gang that he repped, the Black Disciples. Not only going by the name King Von, but also frequently saying David Barksdale's nickname, often ending sentences by saying, "on King David."
On King David.
Also, while Von was in jail awaiting trial, the conflicts in the streets would continue to play out, and Von would eventually get the worst news imaginable. His right-hand man T-Roy would be shot and killed in a convenience store on Valentine's Day 2017. Von's people would post Twitter tributes memorializing his friend and favorite shooter, and Von would later open up about the very moment that he got the news about T-Roy's death while he was in jail.
Yeah, R.I.P. T-Roy, man, that was my best friend. I got that nigga on my neck. That's how strong that shit. I got him gang banging on my neck. That's how hard we was gang banging up.
With Von saying that he completely broke down crying when he found out that his right-hand man T-Roy was gone.
I miss my dog before they get my dog out of locked up. Killed me, I broke down. I ain't cried so long. But every day, this my nigga, I'm in jail. I'm fighting the murder and shit. I call this every day. This my right-hand man. So I'm telling him like, all right, now since he go, we can tell him, he getting that. Man, I'm gonna get you out, Von. I'm gonna get you out, man. Whatever I gotta do, I'm gonna get you out, I swear to God. You know? But we in the streets, you know how that shit go. So he trying to hustle, he trying to rob, all type. He doing whatever he can do. Yeah, I'm gonna get you a lawyer, bro. I got you, you know? He be telling me, give me a shit. I be calling, man, don't even worry about it, man. Just look, just you make sure you know? I mean, I'm gonna figure this shit out. Just be cool out there. I call folks. It's like, this on like Valentine's Day, you see what I'm saying? I call my mama back. And she crying and shit. Mama, what the f you crying for? You good? You know what I'm saying? She, ooh, they shot T-Roy. T-Roy got, oh, what? Ooh, what? Oh, look at the phone. You know how that shit go, you in jail, you can tell, hold on, what? Now we calling, remember what's going on? He got hit once, some shit, ooh. Oh, damn, what the f going on out there? I'm T-Roy, got shot, look, this is the thing, y'all don't know T-Roy. Y'all gotta leave our history of T-Roy, y'all don't know. T-Roy got to go further, that's T-Roy, that's T-Roy, oh, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't know T-Roy like I know T-Roy, you know what I'm saying? So when I hear he get shot on, he don't want to talk me like, don't be lacking, don't be, you know? He was on me, he used to be on each other, you know what I'm saying? Because me and him, we back to back. That's my boy, you know what I'm saying?
I'm only laughing because the chat making me laugh. On top of that, I don't really know what he's saying. Chat, because I have to pay attention and I'm not.
Folks got shot, I said, hold on. I said, the streets, hold on. Who got shot? Who? Nah, he a gangster. He got shot before. He a gangster. I said, the folks ain't make it, I'm phone them out. I play it out, you know me, you gotta play it out. You in jail, so all type of goof ass around, you know these 13. All of your business on King David, I walk it off. I'm just walking around in circles on the deck, you know. And they put their arm around me when I'm like, damn, you good, little bro, you good? What's wrong with you, Vaughn? Yeah, I'm good. Ooh, what's wrong? You got a phone, man? I'm good, you know.
Oh my God, how long is the gap?
They just killed T-Roy. Ooh, he what? I'm T-Roy, they just killed T-Roy. Oh, I got to break it down on King David. I couldn't help it. They hugging me. These some real, you know what I'm saying? We grown ass men. Folks grab me to hold me. Get to there, you gonna be alright, shorty. You gonna be alright. Oh, hold on, boy. That's my best friend, boy. Somebody just killed my best friend while I'm in jail. I'm in that finna go crazy. Oh, I'm in that. Don't know what's going on. I'm in that in that. Who the f y'all? I'm that mad on. Oh yeah, I'm in that in that. Nah, not my best friend. You know what I'm saying? I'm in that. I
don't even need to see all that, but
ain't a lot of hope for a lot of, cause he be, y'all know how folks see his man. T-Roy, T-Roy, let me see who are. The guys just looking like, ooh, this preaching on. Oh, don't trip, you know. Y'all know this that street. The street watching me like that. This about the. I know, yeah, this the street. I better pay attention. I ain't gonna keep doing it. This don't supposed to be for free.
Von would take T-Roy's death very seriously. Even after becoming a famous rapper, he would threaten to kill trolls who would DM him mocking T-Roy on his birthday.
Fuck how you feel? You a shorty on, oh, I'll kill you. Yo, as a little boy, I'll choke you out my motherfucking hands and beat the shit out you. And then that shit fool you, boy. I'll drop my motherfucking location on you. I'll pull up, I'll kill you for real, man. Yo, ass HFE Larry. Yo, ass a goofy, man. Yo, ass is a bitch, boy. Stop fucking playing me. Go play with somebody else, bro. I'll fuck you up for real. I don't even play like that, gang. For real.
Despite spending 3.5 years in jail, eventually Von would finally face trial for the murder of Malcolm Stucky. Von's family tweeted from his Twitter account in November 2017 that they had been attending his trial at court. And despite what was originally thought to be a clear-cut case, Von's co-defendant would end up implicating himself and Von in the crime in an attempt to secure a deal with prosecutors, but ultimately backing out of that deal at the last minute, leaving prosecutors scrambling for any evidence that would actually implicate Von in the murder. Allegedly, eyewitnesses who saw Von that night failed to testify, and King Von would even later rap about the situation on the track What's Next, saying that they killed the only witness and that Big Mike was the only one who spoke. This turn of events would see King Von being acquitted of all charges due to lack of evidence, and Big Mike himself going down for 16 years, plus an extra 12 for backing out of a deal with prosecutors, so a total of 28 years. After this, King Von would be a free man once again, beating a body and returning to the streets of Chicago with his freedom and a clean slate. The family of Malcolm Stucky would later admonish Von on social media for getting away with this gruesome murder and going on to become a rapper. But, as we'll soon learn, Von had zero shame about the things that he had done in the streets. In fact, he would wear the badge of a killer who beat a body with pride. And after killing an alleged 7 people in total, when Von got out of jail, it would be time for a new beginning, as the newly free King Von would take all of his stories from being a killer on the streets of Chicago and put them into songs. Becoming a Chicago drill rapper with so much credibility as a gangster, his music simply could not be ignored. And soon, all over Chicago and around the world, Von's name would be ringing, as people would begin to discover what appeared to be the realest gangster rapper who ever lived. After being acquitted of all charges in the murder of Malcolm Stucky, King Von would walk out of jail a free man once again around the 6th of December 2017, being seen walking fresh out of the gates on social media. Von would also return to Twitter as well as the streets, telling 16 Shot and Visuals that his friend E-Dog from O-Block picked him up and the first thing they did was go and buy a gun.
I want to block. Who can give me E-Dog now? I want to block. And got some, I got a gun, attach me to my little kid.
At the time of his release, Von wasn't yet a rapper. It's unclear if Von ever really had aspirations of transitioning from shooter to rapper. On the one hand, there's old tweets where he perhaps jokingly said that him and T-Roy had planned to release music, but nothing ever materialized. On the other hand, he had also tweeted that if he ever starts rapping, you should kill the person closest to you, because something ain't right. So it's safe to say that at least initially, Von's plans were not music. At least not for himself, because one person who hadn't forgotten Von during his long 3.5 years in jail was his childhood friend and Chicago rap superstar Lil Durk, who had tweeted his support for Von whilst he was still in jail fighting his charges, and apparently calling him regularly, even providing money for a lawyer. Durk would welcome Von home from jail with open arms, with Von actually revealing later that his friendship with Durk had initially had an ulterior motive, and that at first he was just planning to hang around Durk and rob people that he knew just to get himself to $100,000.
I wasn't no rapper, so it wasn't none of that rapping shit. I'm thinking like, I just need to get 100,000. I'm gonna be decent. I'm gonna rob this, and I'm trying to rob this other. And this is what I was thinking in jail when I was, before I got to jail, talk to your homie in jail. They say, what you gonna do? I say, I'm gonna go around Dirt, and I'm just gonna catch me. I'm gonna go around Dirt, and I'm gonna catch me like 2-3 more. You see what I'm saying? And Dirt, I ain't gonna let him know because he gonna try to stop me.
After coming home from jail, music was the last thing on King Von's mind. He just wanted to get money and flex his newfound freedom. He would be seen fresh home, posing in new outfits on Instagram, with pictures celebrating his freedom, attracting threats from his enemies like FBG Cash. But it seemed that Von's friends would be looking out for him, and no one was looking out for Von more during this time than Lil Durk, who would invite Von into his life and entourage as he continued his rise as one of Chicago's most promising rappers. Durk was working on his 2018 mixtape Just Cause Y'all Waited, and that tape featured the classic track Durky-O Crazy. Soon after getting out of jail, Von would be sitting in the back of Durk's car, previewing this future classic before it was released. Perhaps the reason that Durk wanted to play Von this track is because the song itself references Von's case, with Durk rapping that a witness went missing and now Von is coming home. Once again, Von's real life of crime was providing inspiration for Chicago's biggest rappers. Clearly Durk was inspired by the return of his newly freed hitter and would continue spending time with him. Later that day, in the same Instagram Live, King Von would explain to Durk how he grew his hair in jail just to keep himself warm, and explaining just how...
Inspired, or I feel like isn't that an attempt to garner more credibility by being, let's say, so close to the fire, to like the gangster activities or whatever?
Painful the shackles were that he was forced to wear whilst in solitary confinement.
It was cold them nights. It was cold them nights. For them great, I'm under that blanket. It was ugly. Ankle still got that scar on it. Look for the thing. The shackles, them killing.
Going to court?
In the hole, you gotta wear shackles.
Oh, no?
Man, everything.
Every day?
Every time you come out?
Oh.
Yeah, every day. You gotta get on the phone, you man.
This when you walk, people this.
Right. No, it'd be the back.
What?
Don't play the new Chillis art game. It's gonna blue screen your PC.
Oh, because it's yeah, it fucks your chip, right?
Yeah, memory leaks. So until we do the BIOS update, we can't do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What?
I got my shit, cause my ankle's little as hell. I'm full on. Look, I got that peeling on. Damn.
Von would seemingly spend Christmas 2017 with Dirk too, with them being seen together on social media, listening to classic Chicago drill anthems by L.A. Capone. Moving into 2018, Von started off in classic savage mode, posting on social media, toting guns, and declaring his desire to bring war to his ops. He had been seen on clips on social media, walking through O-Block and showing the world that he was still in these streets, untouched even after all of the people he had allegedly killed, even speculating on who was in the comments on these lives, his ops or the cops.
Oh, in that block. You know I'm with that block. Hey, y'all in the house on his own. I don't be knowing them these, the fans or folks them. Folks knocking like fans.
As January went on, Von would continue to flex his muscles on social media, and he would be seen listening to NBA Youngboy of all people, whilst chilling with O-Block native Mona Duke and telling followers that they were smoking their dead ops.
A lot of your dead mans. Phone them. Superman, goddamn it, Brickman, Kobe Man. And we strapped up. And we strapped up.
Clearly, Von was still in the streets initially. After enjoying some time in Atlanta with Lil Durk, once he'd returned to Chicago in February, he'd quickly find himself in trouble, tweeting that he was riding around with a gun and weed. Then he would end up getting arrested at O-Block on February the 14th, 2018, the one-year anniversary of T-Roy's death. With this arrest taking place soon after he tweeted that he was in O-Block and armed on the anniversary of T-Roy's murder. Von would be arrested on charges of shooting and bodily harm, with cops claiming that he ran from them and threw a gun, battering them in the process of the arrest, with the body cam footage of this arrest later becoming public, which showed a menacing King Von telling the police with pride that he just beat a body and 2 attempted murders.
So this is gentleman we were chasing, but on video they went back, went under the cars where we think he ditched it, got in the vehicle, we stopped the vehicle, get him out, battery, fight with that. Vehicle takes off on us when we got this, and then we got about 50 people around us. So
what happened?
You're gonna go to jail for battering to a police officer.
Who I hit?
Me?
Where?
And you also.
I got everything. Where at?
Thank you very much. We'll take it then.
I've been cuffed since I was in the cops. Gotta go home. It's Valentine's Day.
You got the plate number since you got it on tape, man? Hey, my man. Oh, you don't have that. What's the last name? I know, but I got a pen ready.
Come on, finish.
Switch them up.
2 N's, 2 T's.
Watch it, because he's gonna.
How about your first?
You look her?
Hey, Vaughn. You ain't want to be in here now. I don't know. No, I think I'm trying to help.
Okay, no problem.
What?
You got a middle?
Yeah, why? You guys want it?
How about date of birth?
And she was here the whole time videotaping.
94.
Oh, for majority of it, not when we got him out of the car.
Did it come in through the main entrance? Yeah, a lot of times.
I cuffed him this way because
Cause y'all let me go to my Valentine's Day.
You talked going to jail.
I just got to do. You don't know me. That's what I'm saying.
What were you locked up for?
A body and 2 attempts.
I'm sorry?
You want it, you're gonna have it.
You're going to want to cuff him in the back.
Yeah. Come on, by my
He's
car,
all
man.
kinds of fun.
Let go.
Let go. We got you.
Let go, stupid man.
No, we got you.
Let go.
Hey, we got it.
Well, I think he's trolling it.
You got locked up over here recently?
No, hell no.
What'd you locked up in?
Huh? I got it. G, I beat my case. I was charged with first degree murder.
You on video right now, man.
It's cool.
Put your hands behind your back.
So what I'm getting charged with right now? Put that on video.
We're gonna figure it out, dude.
But now I'm not under arrest.
Yes, you are.
For what?
Probably trespass over here.
Oh, yeah.
And hitting the guy.
Hitting who?
Everybody got fur wood.
That way we can relay the first job with this job. You injured? Do you need an ambulance? Does he batter you? Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
All right. Where's your coat, man?
He asked him, man, the super cop.
Where's his coat?
Super cop.
It's gone?
After the arrest, a furious-looking King Von mugshot circulated online, but Von would be out within just a couple of days, tweeting that he believes that the cops have it out for him because he escaped those murder charges, and he would boast that he would never let them get him. Clearly, King Von wasn't ready to permanently move on from his life as an O-Block hitter, and he would still be going live on O-Block in March 2018, mocking their dead ops.
Right. Who got Tuka Man? That's what we need. Hurry to Tuka Man! I sure got Trent, Poppy, K.I. I can't be in no room without smelling Tuka. I gotta at least smell it for them just to know like Tuka's still around. Modell P5 and loving memory of Tuka.
But Von would also continue to be seen hanging out closely with Lil Durk, seemingly making regular trips to spend time with the rapper in Atlanta. At a certain point, Von and Durk would be reunited with another friend and feared Chicago shooter, THF Bezu, with Bezu, just like Von, beating a 2014 murder charge for a shooting that occurred in 2009. Lil Durk was now rolling with 2 certified Chicago shooters on his team. But the plan wasn't to shoot. Durk planned instead to transform these hardened street figures into rap superstars. The realest rappers who had ever rapped, with the realest backstories to back it up. Von would post pictures and...
Okay, on phonem, I learned it last time. It means on folks and them grave. Right? On folks and them grave.
In the studio with Durk, saying that he isn't going back to his old ways and hinting to an upcoming career in the rap game. Since beating his murder case and coming home, Von had the perfect backstory to kickstart his music career too. THF Bezu had essentially been through the very same situation, so Von and Bezu would be paired up and placed into a studio where they would record a song all about their shared experience beating real-life murder charges, something that Von and Bezu would open up about in a 16-shot interview.
Me and some bodies. Like, that's the story we can tell. Like, they try to do some bodies we ain't doing. We beat them.
On May the 27th, 2018, King Von and THF Bezu released their first song, Beat That Body, a track coming with shocking lyrics where Von essentially admits to catching bodies, beating them, and even saying that he now plans to catch more. This insane backstory would be irresistible for Chicago drill fans, with Durk later revealing that people instantly went crazy for Von's music in Chicago.
And he see like us, what we doing is music, and I had a studio in my house. He just tried it. When he dropped the song, like the reaction was just like, he next. I'm like, oh, he on to something, you know what I'm saying?
But Von didn't seem too hopeful for his rap career to begin with, barely promoting the song, and seemingly having no plans to give up his full-time job as an O-Block driller, or at least shot caller, because in the months that followed Von's musical debut, killings would still continue to play out in the streets, with Von appearing to remain plugged into the action. Not only giving Von and his gang even more credit in the streets, but with these murders also providing Von with the inspiration to get back into the booth, where he would continue to record music all about the deadly violence that he would soon become famous for. While King Von was in jail, numerous people from O-Block ended up getting killed. Perhaps it was precisely because their most fearless shooter was in jail that so many people ended up passing while he was gone. Von was particularly hurt by the killing of T-Roy, his right-hand man, and after T-Roy was killed, a new set of gangsters would form in O-Block who went by the name Get Back Gang. This was a hardened crew of shooters whose sole focus was to get revenge or get back for the murder of T-Roy and other beloved O-Block natives who had been killed while Von was in jail. Another one of these fallen O-Block affiliates was Chino, who was shot dead on the 17th of July 2016. Another, Big A, was gunned down in a restaurant near O-Block on the 4th of December 2016. Get Back Gang would be on a killing spree trying to avenge their fallen friends, looking to kill anyone who played a role in their demise. Poppy, believed to have been involved in hits against O-Block, would be gunned down at work on the 16th of June 2017, allegedly being shot in the head by an O-Block member called Heck, who would go on to be known by the nickname HK or Headshot King. HK was T-Roy's brother and would reportedly avenge him, with T-Roy's alleged killer TB or Terry Barry being shot dead on the 26th of December 2017. However, HK himself would end up being killed in O-Block 2 just before Von got out of jail on the 24th of November 2017. Another person who seemingly lost their life to Get Back Gang's revenge campaign during this time would be FBG Brick, FBG Doug's brother, rumoured to have played a role in giving up T-Roy's location to the ops the day he was killed, with Brick and his friend Kobe being gunned down in a Get Back gang attack on the 17th of July 2017. In fact, many of these murders played out in 2017 whilst Von was still behind bars for the murder of Malcolm Stucky. And when Von got out, despite becoming a rapper, spending time in Atlanta with Lil Durk, and seemingly taking a step away from the gang war, Von would still seem to be looked at as a senior figure and shot caller to members of O Block and Get Back gang. And when they killed again, King Von would be on the sidelines celebrating the murder as if it was one of his own. On June the 13th, 2018, King Von would tweet saying that there's a new rule. You can only diss or smoke a dead person that you yourself actually killed. Only days after that tweet, Get Back gang would unfortunately claim another life. The next unlucky person to be killed would be a St. Lawrence native by the name of Can't Get Right, aka Man Man, real name DeAndre Wallace. On June the 15th, 2018, around 9:50 PM, Can't Get Right is waiting for food outside of a store on 400 block of East 63rd Street. At a certain point, two people pulled up and waited outside, and when the target was spotted, those two men ran up, opening fire, killing both the target as well as an innocent bystander that was just there sweeping up outside the restaurant. And once again, the shooting and immediate aftermath were captured on CCTV footage and by witnesses in clips that are far too grisly to show you on YouTube. Both men shot in the incident were pronounced dead at the University of Chicago Hospital, with the news even later reporting on this assassination.
Morning are looking for the gunman who killed two men overnight. They were standing outside of a store in the city's Woodlawn neighborhood when someone started shooting. A 43-year-old man was shot in the chest. He died at the hospital. The other victim, a 22-year-old, also died. Police say the 22-year-old is a known gang member and was the intended target.
King Von would go live on the same day as this double murder alongside Mimo 600 while still in Atlanta with Lil Durk's team. And in this live, King Von was set out to poke fun at his murdered rivals immediately after they were killed. And let's not forget, only days before this, King Von tweeted that you can't disrespect the dead unless you played a role in killing them. With that in mind, King Von's livestream after the murder was truly a masterclass in self-incrimination. They would start the live off lighting a blunt and saying that their smoking can't get right and asking the viewers what just happened.
There you go, can't get right. There you go, can't get right, cause I can't get right.
Alright, now, everybody, not at one time. What just happened? What just happened?
A lot of glizzies and F's.
Oh, you right there with your hand up. You tell me what happened. Who got killed? That's what I'm asking y'all. Who got killed, gang?
Yeah.
Can't get right, got killed.
Word. Can't get right, got
And somebody show me a picture. I don't think I know y'all talking about. Is this can't get...
Is that can't get right? Hold on, is this him? Is this can't get right?
This ain't called snitching. I'm just trying to get verified. Verification.
From here, people start commenting, can't get up. And it seems that the O-Block hitters are so amused by this wordplay, they essentially confess to being involved in the murder on the spot.
They tell us can't get up.
They always make some shit before we do it. They beat us to it every time.
Y'all should start killing people. Cause y'all be doing this. You doing the man.
Oh, Steve, this ain't crazy.
After this, we see the crew say that it's two people down and that they're going to have to roll another one, whoever it is, seemingly unaware that it was an innocent cleaner who was killed in the incident.
They said two down. Dang.
2 men that I can't
on
take
David, they said it on both our lives.
I can barely
Two
take
piece? 2 piece? I can take one. Somebody roll another one.
Can't
Whoever else got hit.
They even started reacting mockingly to the ops posting long tributes to their fallen friend on Instagram in real time in this live.
See that paragraph under that picture, you know it's over. Damn, best friend, you just told me to pop out. I remember back in the days when you just told me to pop out, best friend. Why the f you do me like this? You bogus as hell. They ain't try to.
They gonna be dissing this you. You know, you better not get caught like that.
From here, Von and his friends would continue mocking the ops by specific block and saying that the FN gave him a fresh fade like Lil Boosie.
Steady taking losses. STL, steady taking losses. Motherfucker gave him a fresh fade, Boosie Boost.
They fucked up folks up.
Hey, why did they even put him on Front Street like he was even like that though?
Then King Von comes back and says straight up that Man must have known he was going to die and that no one will care he's gone.
He probably knew he was gonna die. I wish I could talk to him for that. Don't nobody even care about Can't Get Right like that. I don't think they gonna slide like that. I don't think nothing finna happen because of that. So
they finna waste the rest of their money on that.
We ain't even gonna act like nothing finna happen. Just y'all go in the house.
Gotta pay for it.
Whoever ain't get shot, you lucky today. I'm finna go in the house. It's over.
After this, they even started reliving the hit, saying that their ops aren't used to somebody jumping out of the car and firing at them non-stop.
You ain't used to somebody just popping out a cut for real.
Looking at your ass.
Really on your ass. You just get the flap past your you just want to do like one of these because you acting like you fake tough. But get the hitting you, damn, this shit, I can't move.
Crump getting that there, little phone, they got you too.
Whilst King Von is on live bragging about this hit from another city, O-Block members Moo Wop posted a picture on Instagram with fellow member Duke saying that they are shooters. Meanwhile, E-Dog from O-Block jumped on Twitter to say that the get back is not over. Just the day after the murder, King Von tweeted saying that the stakes are higher now than ever and that the police have their eye on him. Von later tweeted claiming that his brothers made the new op pack, literally giving direct responsibility for this murder to his team. It seemed clear at this point that Von was not only happy about the killing that his friends from O-Block were doing, but he was actively encouraging it, and quite possibly the one giving the orders. Friends of Man would post outright saying that they believed King Von paid for the hit.
Doing all that, tap him up and see if he can get up and all that goof ass. You know what I'm talking about too.
Whoa. Do you guys feel that it was somebody from the other side that may have did it, or you think it was like a random act of violence?
Y'all watch this shit. Why is that this nigga snitching?
You know who did it, man. All these niggas in the city did it, man.
Okay.
They hate us. But they ain't gonna step outside them gates though. Cause they know. King Von. We gonna say his name. King Von.
But Von honestly didn't seem to care about anything at this point, and despite the fact that word was spreading that he was the shot caller in Get Back Gang's murders, Von wasn't trying to keep this a secret. In fact, he was ready to broadcast that message to millions of people. Because on July the 31st, 2018, Lil Durk's Only the Family Involved Volume 1 compilation album releases. The project featured many of Lil Durk's friends, including King Von, whose new song Problems would be included on the project, with this entire track being all about Von having hitters that catch bodies for him, even warning people, do not get bodied by me. The song essentially tells the story of O-Block shooters killing people on Von's command. The song also featured an intro where he shouted out Get Back Gang, and there were lyrics about killing both the target and witnesses. Von would rap that killing is his hobby, and he says that his loyal shooters are the ones catching bodies for him. Von would also tease a music video for this track, which ended up dropping on Lil Durk's official YouTube channel on August the 9th, King Von's 24th birthday. Meanwhile, Lil Durk was impressed with King Von's murder raps, tweeting that Von was next up to break into the rap game. And this would be followed by Von telling fans that he would soon be dropping music with Lil Durk himself, and saying that he would be switching up and not associating with anyone he used to know.
Once this song with Durk drop, I'm acting like I don't know none of y'all. I'm acting for money. I'm changing up.
Durk was clearly seeing the potential in King Von's music, and from here, the two of them would be seen together on social media, having a good time and getting the fans more and more familiar with Durk's newest prospect.
Yeah, what the thing you talking about?
Yeah, that sounds
Mermaid
a little
Man,
ironic.
Barnacle Boy. Come on, man. On phone them, get your cat dog looking ass. On phone, get your rat looking, big mouse looking ass. On phone, Mickey Mouse. Damn.
Von was beginning to lay the foundations for a successful rap career, but he also continued to be reckless. Around this time, Von is seen in a viral Instagram live clip telling a small child on O-Block to disrespect Tuka and training him to shoot people in the head with a water pistol.
Shoot him in his head. Shoot him in his head. You got a point right here. Boom. Say it. You gotta shoot him in his head. Shoot him. Shoot him. Tuka. Tuka. You shot Tuka? Say Tuka, man. Shoot him again. Shoot him in his head.
After this, Von would tweet about having killers around him and posting pictures of his whole crew. And as Von's popularity grew, people would eventually annotate these pictures, speculating on how many people each O-Block member had killed. Naturally, all of this reckless behaviour on social media brought even more police attention onto O-Block. By the end of August 2018, the block is hot, and King Von is seen on live observing arrests taking place on O-Block itself, even saying that he has his shoes tied in case he needs to run.
And I got my shoes tied. I'm getting out of there. They trying to find the secret recipe to the Krabby Patty secret plankton. They trying to find the secret formula
to the Krabby Patty recipe. Damn, they took the truck? No, they ain't take the truck, man. Traffic man skirt. We gonna get another, we rich. Y'all can have that one. That's the one we don't even like. They're trying to see what we on. Talking about what's going on. Somebody gangbanging with us, BDK. Took the sprinter.
Von would tweet about not wanting to discuss murders on camera and suggesting that at this point the gang war must be over. But as we'd later find out, the war would be far from over. While King Von was making a name for himself as a rapper, still commanding his shooters from O Block, he would continue to be associated with serious crimes from a distance. With the next incident involving one of his longest running enemies and a feared op of O Block's, Wooski. King Von had started out October 2018 strong, fresh off the back of his song and music video Problems, where he appeared to celebrate his gang-murdering O-Block rival Can't Get Right. Von would continue pushing his career forward, dropping a full music video for his first song, Beat That Body with THF Bezu, which featured an intro where they both walked out of jail together. Outside of the music, Von was also beginning to notice the many videos being made about him and his past, even resharing a YouTube video breaking down his Twitter beef with FBG Duck, seemingly unhappy. Clearly Von was monitoring his reputation on social media and cultivating his brand as the toughest rapper out, doing all of this whilst real violent crimes would continue to play out on the streets of Chicago where he was from. Just before 4 PM on October the 9th, 2018, Chicago rapper Dusky the Man, real name Ventrice Chris, would be shot in the head on the 5600 block of South Michigan Avenue, apparently the result of a drive-by carried out by a passing brown vehicle. The evening before the murder took place, Von would tweet that there's a dark cloud over Chicago. King Von would go on live a few days later with Lil Durk, saying that he's smoking Dusky, K.I, Tuka, and P5.
A lot of Tuka men in the ass like that. A lot of fat heads of Dusky in the air, a lot of K.I in the air.
E-Dog in there.
A lot of P5 in the air. White bitch, big in the air. Okay, he got his foot up.
Know what's going on,
Put your foot down.
Hey, niggas know.
Oh, hey, ain't shit changed, man. You a gangster. Only gangsters eat that.
You a PG, what you on?
You look nice. You looking real like it's Channel
like a PG like us. I play a gangster.
Damn, Channel Lil Man.
Violence was continuing to play out in the streets, and Von was loving it, because he would continue taking the details of killings his crew were allegedly involved in and placing them into musical gangbanging anthems. Just after a week after the Dusky shooting on October the 18th, he dropped a new song called War With Us, notable for lyrics that appear to take credit for the murder of female driller K.I, as well as lines dissing Tuka, and Von ending the song literally saying that he is a hitman. Von was dangerous, but now he was beginning to make it as a rapper, he wanted the whole world to know just how dangerous he really was. And one of the biggest enemies he wanted to get even with is a Tukaville GD by the name of Wooski. Von and Wooski had been going back and forth all the way back to 2012, when Von was catching bodies in Chicago. Von and Wooski had an infamous exchange on Twitter after trying to catch each other lacking at the local convenience store. Von would tweet at Wooski, bragging about people Wooski knew who Von or his friends had killed, something that Wooski would do back to Von in response. In one shocking back and forth in 2012, Von even bragged to Wooski that he had more bodies and attempts than him, with the two arguing about who would end up getting killed first. Not only did Von and Wooski's feud in the streets run deep all the way back before 2012, but now that Von was trying to make it as a rapper, he would be contending with the likes of Wooski picking up a microphone too, with Wooski having dropped the very disrespectful song Computers at the start of 2018, a track that featured numerous lyrics insulting dead O-Block affiliates like Big A, J Money, White, Chino, and OD Perry. Wooski even ended the song saying that they're on the hunt for the killers of Poppy and TB, two of the prominent murders seemingly committed by O-Block's Get Back gang. So, the beef between Von and Wooski was incredibly personal, and Wooski was also very close with the recently deceased Dusky, with them having made the song Shooters together. Just a few days after Dusky was killed, King Von and others from O-Block would FaceTime Wooski, telling him that they were going to catch him by surprise.
This your big brother, yeah, you know the that's your big brother, you know.
I wish I could say one of y'all was my boys. We got all goofies over there.
I ain't tell you what to do it tonight on
What y'all off the courage? What made y'all do it tonight?
Listen, we gon' surprise.
You talking about tonight.
We gon' surprise, bro.
Yeah, some bitches out for the free. But you talking about tonight.
So, from here, it seems like Wooski's ops hatched up a plot to shoot up Dusky's funeral because they knew that he would be there. On the afternoon of the 22nd of October, at Dusky's funeral, soon after this picture is taken, a car turns up. People jump out of that car and begin shooting into the crowd outside the church, firing indiscriminately, but looking specifically to kill Wooski. 6 people were hit in this shooting, with Wooski himself being shot in the head, but he would miraculously survive. Only a few days after the shooting, Von would begin tweeting, I kid you not, comparing himself to Jesus, and then tweeting, laugh now, cry later, and game over, we won, with fellow O-Block shooter Muwop retweeting and agreeing with this. Over the next few years, Von would go on to drop numerous disrespectful lyrics referencing the shooting of Wooski, like on the track Grandson for President, where he raps that Wooski got shot in his head and now has to...
Brother, I have to ask you, where's the police? That's a mass shooting.
Take medicine for his injuries. Von would rap on the song GTA, Who Shot Wooski? How Would I Know? Von also rapped on the track Go and Get 'Em that he will be at your funeral on time to give your mother a tissue. And then there's the lyrics on his track Back Again, where he literally says that he slides at funerals, shoots everyone outside, and that Wooski is going to feel this one. Going on to say, I bet Wooski's still twitching, he changed, something different. Those are some of the most disrespectful lyrics I have ever come across. But it's also incredibly self-incriminating. It's honestly insane that Von was getting away with stuff like this, but it really was this kind of raw and real...
Also, I feel like a funeral shouldn't be a PvP zone. Like, it should be like a sanctuary zone. Like, really, brother?
Content that attracted so many people to his music, whether or not they even knew what he was talking about. From here, Von would continue to mock Wooski throughout his career, posting disrespectful pictures to him on Instagram on a regular basis. But ultimately, despite being literally shot in the head, Wooski is still alive today in 2023 and still posting on Instagram. In fact, Wooski would indeed outlive King Von, just like he had promised him on Twitter in 2012, the day before Boss Trell died. But for the time being, Wooski would take a step back from the beef with Von and O-Block, and a newly charged King Von would go all in on his rap career, continuing to roll with Lil Durk and going on to record song after song about living the lifestyle of a shot-calling killer. But unfortunately for Lil Durk, rolling with this loose cannon would soon be causing him problems too, and it would only be a matter of months after the funeral shooting that Lil Durk would find himself in a car with a trigger-happy King Von, perhaps succumbing to peer pressure and picking up a gun of his own, with Lil Durk making a split-second decision that would nearly cost him his career and freedom. The month after the shooting at Deuce... The month after the shooting at Dusky's funeral, which critically injured Wooski, King Von seemed to be worried about his reputation, tweeting that the past is always coming back to haunt him, and saying that he's not a murderer, not a rapper, not a scammer, just handsome. But also tweeting that if you play with him on the internet, he's going to your house. Perhaps behind the scenes, Von was beginning to struggle to manage his reputation. Now he was becoming a legitimate rapper in the music industry, he might have been worried about his past as a killer getting in the way of his new plans. Von said that he was having nightmares during this time, and that he was popping pills to cope. There'd be a few interesting exchanges around this time too, like a Twitter conversation between Von and his baby mama, where Von joked that he would put her on the news, and then backtracking, having to deny being a killer. At this point, Von was clearly concerned about his reputation, and was on edge to even joke about being a killer. But one person who wasn't worried about Von's reputation was Lil Durk, who was doing everything he could to put King Von on during this time. In mid-November 2018, Lil Durk previews King Von's upcoming song, Crazy Story, on his Instagram. Fans knew that something huge was coming. Lil Durk was taking Von to parties to rub shoulders with other huge rappers in the industry, like YNW Melly and Roddy Ricch, even taking an enthusiastic King Von to the studio to like YNW Melly and Roddy Ricch, even taking an enthusiastic King Von to the studio to hang out with Gunna.
Hey, Tokyo, Gunna, Shalom. Okay.
Yeah, Melly's not in jail, but
Durk would even bring King Von along to him.
I've been watching that a bunch. I have like fucking like a bunch of hours watched on that. Basically, now we're at the point where they've been delaying the trial like a bunch of cucks for like forever, right? The prosecution, that is, and the judge is mad about it, reasonably so. What is that? 2,000 days, something like that, in jail. So they're gonna get started.
His interviews, because
they almost a mistrial and a bunch of bullshit.
With Lil Durk's November 2018 visit to the Breakfast Club being one of the first times that
There's a bunch of problems. The witnesses show up, they troll. The witnesses don't show up. They said they're gonna show up, they don't show up. The fucking people are trolling. Prosecution is fucking doing some dumb shit. Like it's the whole thing
Mainstream
is
music
a
listening
is a
public
clown
got
fest.
a glimpse of King Von, and this would end up being a legendary appearance. Clearly doing all he could to put the spotlight on his friend and artist, Dirk had brought Von onto one of the most famous rap interview shows in the world.
One of the guys started acting like a retard.
What's up, sir?
What's up, John?
Welcome.
Dirk would tell Charlemagne that he wanted to sign Von because of the backstory behind him, with Charlemagne not being quite prepared for the realness when Von started talking about beating his murder charge.
What made you want to sign King Von?
Cause he got a whole story behind him.
What's the story? What's your story?
My story, I just got out of jail for just beat a body in 2 attempts. Like,
So you was in jail for 2 murders?
yeah, 1 murder and 2 attempts. I just beat.
How you beat that?
Bro, you say careful what you say. No, I have to be careful, brother. The trial, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure I don't mix them up. But there's some other guy shows up on the stand and he starts just trolling it like he went insane. The guy started acting like he was retarded. Like, you should say, bro. I remember that was for
What you mean?
I mean, you didn't do it, clearly.
No, that was for Million, for sure.
Jury, yeah, look, you know.
In the interview, you could visibly see
was Millie's case, I
Dirk
remember.
trying to look out for Von and covering his tracks after Charlemagne began asking Von if he actually did the murder, with Dirk butting in, saying that Von beat it because he didn't do it.
You gonna beat it. You gonna beat it if you didn't do it. That's all.
Von would go on to say that he can't get a normal job in Chicago because he's done so much dirt in the streets that if he was seen working a normal job, he would probably be killed on sight.
The guy in
It's
blue.
like, I can't work no job in Chicago, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's the same.
Why
couldn't you work a job in Chicago?
I got a face card. Like, I can't.
Oh, I got you. People
like,
know you.
say if I'm behind the counter at McDonald's, somebody coming out there do something crazy. You know?
Yeah.
Then, at the end of the interview, as Von was explaining to Charlemagne that he had no plans after jail because he's got no experience doing anything, suddenly Dirk begins to cough,
Yeah, you're right.
seemingly giving Von an indication not to say anything incriminating about his former life as a killer.
What other plans did you have other than rap?
I ain't had no plan. That's the thing. Like, you get out, you got a lot of shit on your mind, so you getting that. What to do. It's like, back to the streets.
Have you ever been
No
arrested
experiences doing nothing. I ain't, you know?
All right.
Word.
This interview was also the perfect opportunity for Von to promote his upcoming hit song, Crazy
you know what?
Story.
Crazy Story dropped like...
No disrespect. Something that I wish that Charlemagne was a bit less nonchalant. I know he's trying to play it up and trying to act kind of like cool and keep the rep up or whatever, but he's so nonchalant. I feel like sometimes he loses out on a lot of like possible good key points for interviews.
Sometime this week coming up. Sometime
damn.
like any day.
Von would go on to tease the music video for Crazy Story, telling fans that he has a movie coming. And he would even surprise himself with the amount of comments that he got on the post about the song. Von would go on to release the audio for Crazy Story on December the 6th, 2018, just 1 day before the 1-year anniversary of him beating his murder case. Von would claim around this time to be making chess moves in the hopes that he would win at life, and his next move would indeed be a big one, with the full-blown music video for Crazy Story dropping on WorldStar on the 11th of December. Von himself would be amazed at racking up a whopping 110,000 views in his first day, but the appeal of Crazy Story was undeniable. It was a storytelling type song where Von would use his lyrics to tell an entire narrative, telling the story of himself plotting an armed robbery on a rich drug dealer and using a woman to set them up. But the robbery would go wrong when Von's ops caught him lacking, with the track ending in a shootout, and the entire story playing out in the cinematic music video for the song, with Von playing the main character and narrator. Von would end the song dropping his iconic final line where he introduced the world to his regular catchphrase, rapping from 64th and from 65th, we not from 63rd, shouting out O-Block on 64th and 65th King Drive, and dissing his ops.
Guys, I have the whitest man to ever live saying shit like, cut the ups lacking. Like, brother, like, bro, how can I not laugh? How can I not laugh?
From 63rd and St. Lawrence and Eberhart Avenues, aka Toucaville. Dissing 63rd would become a massive part of Von's brand, and he would even later be seen selling merch showing the street sign for 63rd with a big cross over it. And the popularity of the song Crazy Story had Von's fans all over the world dissing 63rd without really even knowing what it means. Crazy Story was distributed by Lil Durk's OTF label and racked up a whopping 3 million views in a week. This is a huge hit, and today it sits over 69 million views on YouTube. Von was on a high after dropping Crazy Story. The week after the release, he would tweet a picture with the caption saying that people see you shining and forget that you're dangerous. And from here, he would make numerous tweets suggesting that the money was finally rolling in. At the end of December 2018, Dirk would hop on an Instagram live with Von with a big stack of money celebrating the success of their release.
Oh, what's that?
I got a
bro?
drop on the flex.
He from Tennessee.
What that is, confetti in your hand?
I'm playing, boy.
Narrow. Don't throw that. Hey, you gonna break some of that house. Don't throw that, bruh.
Then, in the new year, King Von would begin performing his hit song at live shows, even reacting on Twitter to his new song playing on the radio, suggesting that some people might have been shocked when they heard him coming out of their car stereo. Von felt like he had truly made it at this point, tweeting that even his mother was finally
from this stripper bitch, she rotates the cheeks and got a block with a bullet clip. Who don't play with me, this bitch a hoe. Mad at the stove, you know how it goes. She wanna smoke.
proud of him and saying that he felt truly blessed for the position that he had reached in life. But some people in Chicago were surprised. Now King Von was being played on the radio, doing interviews with The Breakfast Club, and becoming a household name, some people who knew him in Chicago for being a ruthless shooter were giving the side eye. There was actually a really interesting Reddit thread asking people who knew of Von before 2017 to share what they thought when they saw him getting success in the music industry. Some said that they thought when he first started rapping he wouldn't get anywhere, but then when he kept progressing, it seemed like his life was a real movie. Whilst another person would say, 100% I could not believe it. When Dirk took him on Breakfast Club, it was so surreal, and he almost admitted to murder on there too. But still, I never thought he would blow up. Then Crazy Story came out and started picking up steam, and it was like, dear God, this literal gang assassin is being played at NFL stadiums. Off the back of the success of Crazy Story, King Von would begin going even harder in his music, with his next track getting even more disrespectful to the ops. On January the 9th, 2019, Mimo 600 and King Von would drop their new track, Exposing Me, and in the song Von mentions Wooski getting shot in the head. He says that he's put in so much work in the street that Get Back Gang will now look out for him. He says outright that he was a killer before the rap, and saying, I swear I killed her, broke her back, a possible reference to K.I.'s murder. He would say that he's smoking Tuka and Lil Marc, and Von even shouts out an old friend from O Block, DQ, as his shooter, suggesting that he will call a hit and have DQ shoot someone for him. It seemed like the more violent and real Von's music got, the more fans flocked to him. But since the success of his Crazy Story, and being brought under the wing of successful Chicago drill rap legend Lil Durk, Von was spending a lot of time away from the mean streets of Chicago that he had rapped about.
You know what it
Instead,
seems like
beginning to get used to...
This really sucks that it's like that. It seems like to me they need some actual street cred for the people that care about that at the lower levels to breach the entry of barrier, and once they get past that, they reach the point where the people that are listening don't give a fuck about the credibility. They just enjoy the music because it sounds tough, and they play it at the fucking at the red lights in their car with maxed out bass, and it sounds cool, right? But without the first part, I can see now that they can't get to the other part without the first part. And I feel that that's where SoundCloud really got people past that. Because then we had a bunch of guys, with all the respect, some thugs, some fake thugs on SoundCloud or whatever, right? No? And they can kind of get past that little barrier of entry.
Living the high life of a successful rapper like Durk. Rather than jumping in stolen cars and doing drills, Von was seen with Durk jumping off of luxury yachts, seemingly surrounded by people who knew his reputation well.
Okay, Durk, yo, it's on you now. This Durk scared. This scared. Okay, Von. This scared. Yeah, I'm a bitch. Look at Von. Look at Von. He too scared. Get wild, B-Roy. They talking about Von.
Wait, true.
She scared to jump. They're here talking about you, all that savage, and you scared to jump in the water.
But all of the success Von was seeing didn't seem to change who he really was underneath. It seemed like Durk was doing his best to take a killer out of a dangerous environment and turn him into a good person and rapper. But perhaps Lil Durk didn't realise that he was also inviting that killer energy into his legitimate rap career. Because on February the 5th, 2019, around 5:49 AM, Lil Durk and King Von were allegedly outside Atlanta restaurant The Varsity. Here, an altercation would take place in the parking lot where allegedly Lil Durk and King Von, along with fellow OTF affiliate THF Bezu and another Chicago native named Hella Bands, would allegedly shoot and rob a man by the name of Alexander Witherspoon, allegedly targeting him for $30,000 cash that he had on him at the time. Detectives would later claim that a video showed Lil Durk shooting out of his own personal car, a custom Jeep Trackhawk with a camouflage wrap and a large 300 on the sign that he was known to own. Durk had even posted clips of this car to Twitter with the caption, "Spin, spin." clips which even Von himself had reposted. Cops would be seen analysing the scene after the shooting, and the local news would report on the shooting before even becoming aware of these famous rappers' involvement.
Police found several shell casings in this parking lot. The Varsity was closed at the time this happened, around 5:45 this morning, but this club across Spring Street was open, and one patron who was parked in the Varsity lot to go to that club told me what he went through. The man from Chicago.
When you have $30,000 on you, chat, what do you do with it? Like, where do you go and make use of all that monies?
Who goes by Gutta, returned to the Varsity parking lot this afternoon to change the tire and assess the damage on his cousin's car after it was hit by bullets.
People that say the strip club, you guys have never been to a club, and I know that for a fact. Bro, at the strip club, you have $2,000 in $1 bills, and you're rich as fuck. Okay, it doesn't matter. You start throwing bills. $1,000 in $1 bills is fucking ridiculous. Okay, go to the club and you start throwing it like that. Okay, you don't need $30,000.
Lost it. Wild night. I'm just happy I'm alive, basically. So that's really what my main focus is.
He had just paid the cover to get into one cigar lounge across Spring Street when he heard the shots outside around 5:45 a.m. He says people hit the floor and he hid in a bathroom. Police say a 23-year-old man was in serious condition when he was rushed to the hospital after the shooting. They are now looking for a dark-colored SUV. They are doing anything they can to help Atlanta police.
The afternoon after the shooting, Von would post up on Twitter with a handful of cash and a gun on the couch next to him. Later on, posting a tweet saying you never know who's gonna snitch when the cops come. Then, the day after the shooting, Von would tweet asking if you can be a killer and a good person too. A few days later, on February the 9th, 2019, Von would be seen in the background on an Instagram Live with Asian Doll, with Von talking to his friend on the phone, possibly about this very shooting. He would seemingly be telling his friend that he thinks he made all of the wrong moves, and saying that the cops are now watching him.
Now you know I ain't trying to do none of this. Oh dude, that's so fluky. We just did the wrong shit. That's why I tell you I gotta get it together. That shit was fool. You just feel like you made all the wrong moves, on mistake. We just was tweaking on for that shit, We just got to be tighter last time for them. Nah, you understand? See that look? See that's the part I was saying. Like,
no, yeah, she was good with Max. I wouldn't fuck around.
All of them out here tweaking me, talking about this, that, and that. But I ain't letting you know that. I'm just letting them tweak me and trying to make sure everything decent. All the time you don't be seeing all that part, man. I'm arguing with the man about pushing off. I'm arguing about the man at the show. I'm arguing with the man on the stage. I'm arguing with the man airworking. And you think I'm just,
They talking about where the fuck he get that accent.
Yeah, they be tweaking with me, boy. I'm pulling on that shit on me.
I don't understand him sometimes, y'all. Either.
Man, you worry about the run. That's little shit, man. That's what nothing we need to think about it, talk about it. Just everything happened fluky that day. Oh, it's fluky. One shit. Yeah, I know that I'm swinging you in the truck with us on phone when I get out right there. But I'm high and thinking about it.
But clearly, Von wasn't too worried about the cops watching, because he would tweet on February the 21st that he was ready to catch another body. And the day after, Von jumps on a reckless IG Live with fans, showing off all the money he had apparently made from features, dissing Tuka, and saying that he's not a rapper, just a gangster who raps for the money.
Hey, this feature, man, I just picked this up, little folks. What, you about to drink some, smoke some? No, I'm gonna smoke Tuka. You know who Tuka is? No, what is that? That's him. Dude. He been dead for a long time. You don't know Tuka. The rapper! Man, I'm not a rapper, man. See, they think I'm from home. Nah, I'm a gangster. I just rap because they be giving me money for it.
While cops were slowly piecing together the facts about the shooting, Von was continuing with his rap career, without sparing a thought to how much self-incrimination he was doing to himself.
Bro, how much dot connecting could there really be? Bro, they're going live on Insta with the fucking murder weapons, going like a caught body with the ops, blah blah blah, tweeting this and that. How much dot connecting could there be at the fucking PD?
Of the time. On February the 28th, Von drops a feature on Dari's song, Gang Only, where he raps he has a lot of bodies, even saying that on his first murder, the victim thought it was a robbery. Around a week later, on March the 5th, 2019, King Von's song Wait unofficially leaks. That track has some brazen lyrics, where he says that he has more bodies than the killer from Scream, as well as admitting that he shot up Dunbar School with L.A. Capone, something he had tweeted about prior. He would also say that he remembers his first murder and saying that he missed a bunch of shots, but now his aim is better. And while these demonic tracks are circulating online, King Von and Lil Durk are having a great time flexing on Instagram Live and fighting over who has the most money and designer clothing.
Hey, you saw me flexing earlier?
No, man, I was too busy.
Nickname Popeye. Popeye, no spinach. Yeah. Come on. Hold on.
I was too busy. No.
Get your ass on what?
I just
what?
know.
What?
This damn
Damn.
I don't play. I just married myself to death.
You flies.
That's no matter though. You over there with 20 on?
Huh?
You over there with $20?
Don't try to count my pockets on phone number. Hey, what you on though? Damn. You do it too much. Them BBS in them things.
That's a couple belts.
Hey, I'm saying.
Fat 550 a piece.
You still flexing?
Hey, got these Chanels right here.
Later on in this live, Von would joke to Lil Durk, saying that he was smoking on Lil Marc and Tuka.
I'm right here kicking a little.
Chat, but how much notoriety do they have and how much views that their shit gets, right? Why spend all that money on the designer? If they went to the designer and they talked to the people on the higher ups, whatever, they could get this shit lifetime for free. Lifetime for free.
Come on, dirty ass.
Dang.
Marky.
That shit reached on my yesterday, Slime. I never would sleep in the studio.
Took a nigga, y'all know what the f going on. I don't know about this.
But at this point, King Von was playing huge concerts to massive crowds and selling verses to other rappers all over the country and making headlines in major rap publications. King Von would tweet around this time that he was scared to go back to jail and hoping that he wasn't making the wrong decisions, and suggesting that he was worried that if he did go back to jail, all his new friends would leave him behind. But no matter how far Von got into the rap industry, he just couldn't stop toting guns and thugging. At the end of March, Von was seen riding around with Lil Durk.
They do give brand deals. Are you kidding me?
For any ops that might.
It's not brand deals, bro. It's like the easiest form of promotion that happens all the time with other things like jewelry, or whatever. It's just free clothes, no contract, nothing. Yeah, hey, here's a gift or whatever, and they wear and their fucking thing. It's like the easiest return on investment without liability you could think of.
Might pull up, even joking about having more bodies than anyone in the car and saying that he's about to get indicted and go to jail for a long time.
Stop playing me on both of them grams. They acting gay. Stop playing. Playing.
They back on?
Oh, yeah.
Are they right? Yeah.
Took on phone them fat. King Dave. Fuck y'all talking about. My mom.
He'll be here about 11. Up and down we go.
And I got more bodies than everybody. Cut this low back up, man. He get indicted in his.
Wait.
It's over. Look, you know I'm coming out. Look.
After this, Durk had whoever was behind the wheel driving incredibly fast in that Jeep Trackhawk, with Von seemingly in fear of his life and joking that his gun is about to go off.
Hey, that's up good.
Up and down we go.
I don't hear go crazy. And this whole king.
Whoa.
Riding in that steam, in that two-seater, riding with a thought. Damn, you ain't no get through this good. Hey, what you gonna do? Stop! Stop doing that, man.
This motherfucker now.
Stop playing, man. It's not out, man. I quit.
Nah, cuz. You drag.
This sick, this go on.
You got it on the drag, cuz.
It's a truck.
Man.
Oh, my ears working out.
I'll talk to my fans for this. Yeah.
Love y'all. Hey, everybody on here. I want to say I love y'all. Oh, this shit.
What you talking about, boy? Hold on.
Oh, man,
Slow down, cuz.
Bro, this car is fucking struggling.
Cuz, slow down, cuz.
Dude, this thing is at fucking 9,000 RPM.
The slow music was gonna work. Hey, cuz y'all motherfucker been scared as hell. Doing 300 on that motherfucker.
I'm sweating.
Oh, it's an SRT.
Hey, Chops, y'all screaming. He said, shut the f up.
What happened to my seatbelt on? Hey, back seat with my. Damn, my seatbelt on.
Hey, tell.
Seatbelts in this.
work.
Huh?
Chop talk, shut your crybaby ass up.
I better get this young ass on. It's gonna be the fuck cool. Oh, there you go.
No seatbelt, bro. You hear that motherfucker?
Yeah.
Seatbelts don't work in this car.
You trying to put a seatbelt on, bro?
Yeah, I'm moving around on the back seat.
I wouldn't chase me in this.
Locked in. Down the ride to my area.
Now you back talking to gangs. You just screaming.
You just screaming like a little.
You just screaming. He text you, tell him, I love you, bro. How's I'm gonna read it, motherfucker? Both of you out there.
Dirk and Von were clearly living the fast life at this point, and seemingly having faced no consequences so far for the shooting at the Varsity nearly 2 months before. However, rumours would continue to swirl about their involvement in serious crimes. On the 31st of March 2019, King Von is seen...
Hold on. I'm interested now. Track Hawk. Bro, that looks fucking heavy. Well, that car... Jeez. Nice car. X5M better? True or false? Bro, Urus are fucking dog shit. Range Rover? I am, bro. A Range Rover, really, dude? Yeah, I mean, it's about what you get, huh, buddy? Fucking piece of shit. Interesting. That guy wasn't. He wasn't ready to race either. Like he slowed the gas pedal. Cheap. I'm gonna buy a fucking Track Hawk. Bro, I hate the cars that sound like that.
And hanging out with Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, who is signed to Baton Rouge rapper NBA Youngboy, with Quando appearing in a clip on King Von's Instagram where he would diss Von's ops on 63rd.
I'm saying though, they got 63rd. Dirty ass. Man. I'm talking about man. I'm hey, listen though, man. 64, y'all 63rd over there.
It seems that back then, Von and Quando Rondo's camps were pretty cool with each other. That very same night that he was with Quando, Von is seen hanging out and hitting the stage with Lil Durk. Von would tweet a picture with Durk, along with a caption saying they've got to stay focused because their enemies envy them. The same day these pictures were taken, an altercation would take place at the Hidden Village Apartments complex in Atlanta. A man named Tyreek Livat was shot dead, with the news reporting a total of 5 people shot, the result of a huge shootout. Apparently, a large fight had broken out between 2 large groups, and an hour after the fight, one group who had left and returned got into it again and begun shooting, with 5 people being hit in the altercation, and Tyreek, unfortunately losing his life, being found dead by police in the parking lot around 10:30 p.m. The police would say that the shooter goes by a nickname, but refused to disclose it to the press, with reports on this incident making it to the TV news the following day.
Now to a developing story. A shooting leaves one person dead, 4 others injured. This happened at an apartment complex in southwest Atlanta. Latasha Givens is live outside of Grady Memorial Hospital. Latasha, what are we learning about their conditions this morning?
Well, Christy, police tell us this all started at a house party last night on Landrum Drive. They tell us a fight broke out between 2 large groups, and at some point a man opened fire, hitting 5 people. Let's take a look at some of that video from last night. Police tell us 1 man was found dead at the party, while 4 others were rushed here to Grady. We're told the victims' ages range from 17 to 20, and the victims are all male. Investigators are trying to determine a motive and what happened leading up to that shooting.
After this, a rumor would circulate suggesting that King Von and THF Bezu had something to do with the shooting. However, Lil Durk would tweet "never" just a couple of hours after the body was discovered, followed by tweeting "protect the money at all costs" the morning after. Von would tweet the following morning that you can do everything right and they're still going to find a way to bring you down, dissing somebody that he doesn't name. Meanwhile, another member of their entourage, Mimo600, would tweet the day after saying that people will end up on the news. For the record, there's never been any concrete evidence to indicate that Von, Durk, Bezu, or any of their entourage had anything to do with this killing, and Tyreek Livert's cousin would actually do a YouTube interview saying that he also doesn't believe that Von had anything to do with the killing either.
They said King Von killed your cousin.
That's what they saying. I don't believe it, but honestly, I think they be just attaching King Von name. I don't see it. I don't see it. You know, you could be with Dirk with all these fancy and you know what I'm saying. Then you over there, like, you know what I'm saying. Then it don't add up.
It's highly likely that this incident had nothing to do with Von and Dirk, but that
sense,
didn't stop people all over the internet making King Von body count articles and videos speculating as to whether
he meant like, and now that they got the cool cars, the cool bling and all that, that the people that have achieved that lifestyle would go up to the place that looks a bit run down, like a trap house.
the King Von was responsible for this murder too. None of this proves Von was involved, but what it does prove is that even if he wasn't involved, his reputation as a shooter would have the fans and public pointing the finger at him regularly. But as the weeks went by, Von would continue to go about his life, whilst the cops would continue building the case related to the original shooting at the Varsity. On April the 1st, the victim in the Varsity shooting, Alexander Weatherspoon, would end up being booked into a Chicago jail on unrelated charges of possession of a stolen vehicle. It seemed like the police were slowly getting closer to having something concrete, but King Von just didn't seem worried about attracting the attention of the authorities. In a social media clip uploaded on April the 2nd, 2019, King Von recorded himself singing in the back of a car with Lil Durk, dissing dead people like Dusky and saying that they almost killed Wooski.
Here we go again, here we go again, back on the road again, back on the road again, right down the avenue, right.
Bro, those seats are so far back, my God, man.
You through, we get you. You do. I don't wanna talk to you.
Jesus.
I don't wanna talk to you. I don't really shoot. I don't really with you. Is I'm shooting right, ain't wrong. Is I'm shooting light, I'm shooting strong.
Remember that TikTok with the guy with the Ultimo, whatever, all the way back down?
Dusky. Wooski almost. Fat head.
Also in April, he would tweet saying he's so real he might kill, and posting throwback pictures of him and T. Roy back when they were hitters in Chicago. He'd even post a picture of himself with a gun in his waistband and a caption saying his enemies envy him, as well as tweeting about Can't Get Right being killed in the parking lot. Von would tweet saying that he's never the victim, always the suspect. And this is all while police are still looking for a suspect in the Varsity shooting. On the 10th of April, a day before the anniversary of K.I.'s murder, King Von would tweet a cryptic message asking if the streets could be his Valentine, saying that they're tired of dying. Then one day after the anniversary of K.I.'s death, King Von would make a biblical tweet saying, "God said to me out of his own mouth to cut her off, grandson, and grandson said, in Jesus' name, amen." Von would even tweet reminding people that even though they see him having fun on Twitter, be careful, because he's still dangerous in real life. He would say that he'll do something to somebody if they go against him, and Von would also release a clip apparently promoting Lil Durk's new cereal Durkios, telling people to go and buy the cereal whilst waving the clip of a gun. Von would also later tell a woman that he comes with the cereal.
If you ain't order no Durkios, that you a... Hey, stop playing my mother twin. Order that.
A day later, on April the 16th, 2019, Von is on Instagram Live mocking Wooski for changing after being shot in the head, saying that Wooski doesn't diss them anymore.
He ain't been the same. He don't talk shit no more, nothing. I don't know what the f. This man talk to me every day. This man ain't DM me no more, nothing.
Hey!
His ass a... Them bullets be changing them. Man. I hope you watching. I hope you hear this your ass up, dude.
That same day, he would tweet that he doesn't chase clout, he actually chases people with guns, and tweeting that Tuka died for your enjoyment. He would even tweet about the crimes that he was committing in Atlanta, saying that he's been doing damage on the Chicago streets since he was young, and now he's ready to cause problems elsewhere, #steppers, a sentiment that apparently Lil Durk was in full support of. Durk was giving Von nothing but support during this period. He would make a cameo in the video for Von's track Cousins with Just Blow 600, another outrageously gangster anthem where King Von raps that if his ops aren't outside, then he will find and kill their cousins instead. This is an unbelievable thing to rap considering King Von's history of killing people and their cousins. But the track would have some more seemingly incriminating lyrics, like Just Blow 600 rapping that him and Von are popping pills, riding in the Jeep Trackhawk looking for ops, and killing people after fights. Von would rap that his gang's body count is 24, and he'd rap that he kills women and men and can't tell the difference. And Von would even promote the video for Cousins with a hilarious tweet, telling fans that if their cousin is cool with their ops, to go to their auntie's house right now and kill them. King Von's first tweet after posting that song was warning his ops what he would do to them if he catches them without the police around. A day after that, Von posts a picture of himself eating cereal, and tweeting about having killers that want him dead, and killers that look up to him. Von was also feeling generous around this time, tweeting that he had given his mother a Gucci purse and $10,000 cash, as well as openly tweeting that he still robs people. Von would even reply to a troll who asked why he's robbing people when he's a rich, successful rapper. And Von actually replied to this, saying he robs people because he doesn't want to spend his own money, he wants to spend somebody else's. But even if he was robbing, Von would soon have the music money rolling in even more. Von would begin teasing his collaboration with Lil Durk, Crazy Story 2.0, on April 29th. Then the day after this, on April the 30th, Von ends up having a funny interaction with a fan, who replied to Lil Durk's teaser of Crazy Story 2.0, saying that she preferred it when King Von raps on his own. Von would reply to this saying, the song isn't part 2, it's a version 2, and that part 2 of Crazy Story is coming eventually, with the girl then trolling Von by pleading for him not to kill her, with Von facepalming and promising not to kill the woman. I mean, to me, this interaction really drives home just how absurd it is that you've got this celebrity rapper just trying to go about his career and release music, whilst it's widely known that he is a hardened killer and people are tweeting at him, begging him to not kill them too. But regardless, things were going well for King Von, and Crazy Story 2.0 with Lil Durk was due to be a hit. And it seemed like King Von could do with another hit, because he had apparently blown through $150,000 by this point, encouraging fans that they can do it too if they just work hard. Von would also tweet that people talk slick until bullets rip through them. Sadly for Von, the good times would soon come to an end. King Von would return to Chicago for a hometown concert, but this would end up being cancelled on the day, with Von suggesting that somebody was out to get him. And then, on May the 4th, 2019, footage would emerge showing a huge force of over 30 Chicago police officers raiding O-Block to arrest King Von, with Von himself being arrested in dramatic footage where he was tackled to the ground, with an enraged mob of his friends accusing the cops of stealing his chain at the scene. And the cops even had to draw assault rifles on the crowd to keep them at bay whilst they arrested Von. In addition to those clips, the full body cam footage of King Von's arrest would later be released.
Jeez.
Stay on the ground. Gang, what the just don't resist. Don't resist. Gang, why y'all grab me? What the wrong with y'all? We got a car. Let's go. Hey, let me get my money in my tree. Hold on, man. Oh my God. Grab it. Car right here. I got it. Get his train. Let's go.
Jesus. And the chain will go in his possessions anyway, right?
Chill. No, because you my leg up, man. Let's go. I'm just going to put him in here. We're good.
Following the arrest, Von would be taken to the station where he would continue to argue with the cops.
We got your chain, big bro. Is there anything on your not supposed to make? Money. Oh, that's money. Is that enough? Right?
My back up, gang.
Stop it.
That's hurting, boy. What the hell? I ain't used to being tapping no more.
He said no more.
Yeah. Y'all tweaking. I'm going to see.
Why you cancel your show today, dog?
Y'all canceled it.
We did?
Yeah, bro, my money.
How much you got out of it? Cameras are rolling, so
I just gotta let you know you're being worried about body cams and lights.
you not know no weed, nothing?
You just send the heavy. You get the heavy. It was cost so much. I'm doing my shirt. Don't tackle me. I ain't got time. You tackle me because look at Taz.
Yeah, I had to, man. I had to. I seen you. I had to get you out the way quickly.
Why? I ain't the type to do all the extra.
We'll explain everything in a minute.
Yeah.
Alright?
Now, once this all been done, I'm alright. Y'all wrong with me.
We'll apologize.
Good luck, man.
You're right. At the same time, though, when you get into custody, people that be your mans wanna, especially if you drop some on the ground, you might never see it again. They're your boys. Okay.
After Von's arrest, his furious mugshot would later be made public, and he would remain in jail for a significant stretch of time. Lil Durk would react to the news, tweeting "Free Von" with a sad face. But only the week after Von is arrested, something unexpected happened. On May the 11th, 2019, the fourth person who was in the Trackhawk on the night of the shooting, Hella Bands, would be suddenly shot and killed outside of a Miami nightclub before facing any charges, with a Miami Beach spokesperson revealing that Hella Bands was also wanted in Atlanta for attempted murder and armed robbery. After Von was picked up in Chicago and waiting to be sent back to Atlanta to face charges, 2 days later, on May the 13th, 2019, THF Bezu would also be arrested in Chicago, charged with being a fugitive from justice out of state, once again in connection with the Atlanta shooting. For the meantime, it would only be Von and Bezu in jail, with Durk remaining free and tweeting "Free Von," as well as an RIP to Hella Bands. Von would be transferred to Atlanta to face charges in connection with the shooting on May the 17th. And as usual, his sister ran his social media accounts, keeping fans updated with pictures of Von in jail. But while Von was behind bars, with his mentor Durk free, his career would keep rising in his absence. Only a couple of days later, on May the 20th, 2019, Crazy Story 2.0 drops with that Lil Durk verse. This remix of Crazy Story had King Von and Lil Durk going back to back over the original booming Crazy Story instrumental. Crazy Story 2.0 was a huge street hit, and today sits close to 100 million views on YouTube, and even landed Von his first entry on the Billboard Global 200 chart. Unfortunately, the Atlanta shooting case would also catch up to Lil Durk's
Crazy Story
2, with Durk tweeting at the end of May that he was turning himself in, and sitting down for a TV news interview where he revealed that he was turning himself in to face these charges, and that he was also releasing a song called Turn Myself In.
You're about to surrender as we speak.
Yeah.
How come?
Because I have nothing to hide. Like, I have nothing to run from.
You are crazy.
A rapper's ride. Soon after we spoke, Dirk Banks, a.k.a. the performer Lil Durk, emerged from his lawyer's space and headed toward an SUV. Soon after that, he stepped out in front of the Fulton County Jail. One of his lawyers says he was swiftly taken into custody there, having swiftly flown back to Atlanta after he found out he was wanted.
We found out he was wanted. He actually on tour. Once I heard, I immediately came back.
He's willing to turn himself in and take care of what he needs to take care of.
We immediately canceled the tour.
He's got a multi-million-dollar salary music career going.
Did you do it? Did you shoot this man? Did you commit the other crimes of which you're accused?
No.
Warrants involving an incident in February on North Avenue involved charges including criminal attempt to commit murder and aggravated assault. One document indicates an Atlanta police investigator said to the best of his knowledge, Banks was employed or associated with a criminal street gang to conduct or participate in gang activity, shooting at the victim while co-defendants shot and robbed him.
I had a bad background, just growing up as a child, about father being incarcerated for 25 years, 26 years. So I had a rough past, but like me moving to Atlanta, I just thought that just changed my whole identity of thinking.
After Dirk and Von were in custody, an Atlanta judge revealed that they believed that there was enough evidence to charge both Dirk and Von in the attempted murder, and Dirk and Von would be seen in an iconic televised court appearance.
Today, Lil Durk appeared in court where a judge ruled there was enough evidence for him to go to trial.
The rapper and Bennett listened to the evidence against them in court. The APD says they used at least 5 cameras from local businesses, including this BP, as well as from the Varsity across the street in order to build their case against Lil Durk and his co-defendant. On Friday, detectives from Atlanta and Chicago testified in the criminal case against rapper Lil Durk in Fulton County Court. They say around 5 in the morning on February 5th, Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Derek Banks, and his co-defendant Devontae Bennett were seen on camera involved in shooting Alexander Witherspoon.
He said his chain was snatched off his neck and he had $30,000 stolen from him, and they stole the vehicle he was driving.
Police say Banks was seen on tape shooting a gun.
Apparently, their defense team were looking to put forward a self-defense plea with the suggestion that it was the man who was shot who actually initiated the altercation. Then, after some legal back and forths, Lil Durk would be granted the opportunity to get out of jail on a $250,000 bond. Following this announcement, Durk was seen running out of the jail and telling fans that Von is getting out tomorrow.
Be out here. Be out here.
Serious charge. Somebody who's rich and can afford it, and they give him a low bond, like a low baller, when he's at multi-million-dollar salary. What?
Yo, what's up? I'm getting fired with this motherfucker. Problem, yeah. They talking 15 mil. I'm talking 30. Okay, then. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we were still waiting on the driver to come though. Just hop in. We waiting on the driver. Hey, you can just stay right here.
Another car is about to pull up. No, you can just go.
I'm back.
Hey, thank everybody for the love and support.
Yeah, definitely appreciate everybody for rocking out with us, supporting us, believing us, you know.
Everybody that screams free.
I've been here so long, this Instagram feel fake. Von will be home tomorrow.
Dirk was back, and he would eventually open up about his time in jail after his release, with his lawyer saying definitively he is not in a gang.
Then when you get in type of that, in a predicament like this, you would sit back and be like, damn, like why I ain't never do this more? Why I ain't never do this with my kids more? Why I ain't do this with my pops more, or my mama? You know what I'm saying? So it just set me down, so I just understand life more.
A member of his legal team says slightly more than 2 months after he surrendered to be booked into the Fulton County Jail, Lil Durk, a.k.a. Dirk Banks, did a book bag giveaway Sunday in conjunction with the Atlanta Entertainment Basketball League, where kids can watch NBA players and others for free. Because it was the right thing to do, though she knows there will be critics.
It ain't nothing new pop up because of the case, we've been doing it.
That he did not do it because of the serious charges he faces after a February incident on North Avenue in which a man was wounded by gunfire, including criminal attempt to commit murder.
We'll fight our case in court.
And a gang charge.
Lil Durk validated himself as having a gang affiliation, right?
Allegedly.
The justice system is everything but
from South
justice.
Chicago.
Terrible.
Essentially, you have to choose a gang for your safety. You don't choose a gang, you can be killed just for not being in a gang.
Is he currently in a gang?
Absolutely not. He moved to Atlanta to get away from the gang life, to get away from the streets.
Von would also be granted a $300,000 bond, being released on June the 22nd, confirmed by a tweet, of course. With Von jumping on Instagram Live, fresh home from jail.
Because the government and the justice system, okay, it would do everybody a big favor, okay, if they lay down the law every once in a while, okay? When there's a big spike in bullshit, okay, you get one case and you fucking slap them down, way down. And it has a radiating effect everywhere. Okay, it helps a bunch. It does though. But it is that they never lay down the law though. They always show that, well, you know what? Here's bond, here's whatever. And they never really get there.
And dissing
and when they do, it takes them 10 years to get there. People forgot.
His baby mama for not thinking that he would ever be getting out.
I want to shout out everybody that was on my dick and thought I want coming out, suck my dick. I want to shout out everybody that's talking crazy like my baby mama now. I've been through some Hey, last call me a hoe, I smacked the shit out of her.
Von would go from jail straight onto house arrest, opening up about his situation on Instagram Live.
I ain't got no good shout out. I can't hear. Damn. I'll be back later.
Part of the bail conditions were that Dirk and Von could not be around each other, as King Von would later reveal in a No Jumper interview.
Yeah, so me and Dirk, we only see each other like at court, if we got court or something.
You said that, but it really wouldn't fix nothing. Okay, I think it speaks volumes that people who do get arrested these days, part of their thing is that they have to make positive music or whatever, and they have to. Just look at Young Thug's thing. Young Thug gets out, right, and he has to do like pretty sure he can't speak about certain things and be at certain places or whatever, right? Right, Thug? Am I wrong about this? I'm pretty sure I saw the sentencing or whatever, right? But it took so long for them to get there, right? That this is the kind of tricks they have to do now. But do you really think at the time, when things were popping off in the streets and things were like wild, whatever, that's the type of sentence that they would have seeked for him? Fuck no. At the time, if they were able to deliver a fast sentencing, whatever, they would have laid down the fucking law. Definitely.
But Von and Dirk would still be releasing
because it helps temper the ongoings.
Music together. On July the 9th, 2019, Von and Dirk released their latest collab track, Like That. And despite their legal troubles, Von was still dropping lyrics hinting towards having killed K.I. and dissing Tuka. It's actually crazy to me that even whilst facing serious charges of attempted murder, both King Von and Lil Durk would continue to rap about such true criminality. Lil Durk's experiment in taking the realist gangbanger from his block and turning him into a drill rapper was going too far and jeopardizing his own career. It was only years later, after Von's death, that those charges against Lil Durk for the varsity shooting were eventually dropped, with the district attorney saying that if King Von was still alive, he likely would have still been charged and facing trial for attempted murder. But in the end, whilst he was alive, King Von would face no real consequences for his involvement in this supposed shooting. In fact, Von would bail out from these charges and continue his career, not even choosing to keep a low profile either. In fact, even with the scrutiny of the police in 2 states, Von would go on to have one of the most successful runs in the rap game, dropping song after song of violent drill anthems, with the entire world following along and wondering how this multiple murderer just kept getting away with it. Once the hip-hop world saw King Von next to Lil Durk in the courtroom in shackles, he quickly gained a reputation as one of the realest street rappers in the rap game. For some people, seeing Von in court with Durk, one of the most famous rappers in Chicago history, was their first introduction to him. However, for anybody that looked closer into his history, discovering the murder case that he beat or as many as 7 people he was rumoured to have killed, they would be easily convinced that King Von might just be one of the most deadly and dangerous people to ever pick up a microphone. And King Von wasn't just a killer who had gotten away with his terrible crimes, but he was seemingly willing to rap about them for the whole world to hear. Von's next release after getting arrested with Durk would be his May 30th, 2019 feature on Izzy Blatt's song Straight Facts, with this track being yet another self-incrimination fest. Von raps on the song that he used to do murder for hire, and he says that he shoots people in the face and is 7-1 on beating murder cases. Von even ended the song saying that the last person that came to his street got killed. With lyrical content this dark, violent, and frankly self-incriminating, it's hard to believe that King Von would go on to achieve mainstream success in the rap game. But his music was undeniably good, despite the murderous messages behind it. He genuinely had a talent for taking these dark experiences he'd had in the streets and making them into songs that painted a vivid picture. And celebrities would soon begin discovering his music and promoting it without a full appreciation of the stories behind the songs. Von would end up getting a huge career boost when basketball star LeBron James' son, Bronny, would jam out to Von's original anthem, Crazy Story, with Bronny even passing Von's music to his father, who reportedly would end up becoming a fan of playing Von's music during his workouts. While Von spent close to 2 months in jail in connection for the attempted murder in Atlanta, he would spend some of that time behind bars writing some of the biggest songs of his career. And when he got out, he would go on the run of a lifetime, taking over the rap game with his new songs and buzzing reputation as a real shooter. Priming fans for the upcoming release of his debut mixtape, Grandson Volume 1, Von promoted it with an Instagram post pondering if the people he killed spirits follow him around until he dies, and also tweeting that by the time people work out what he's done, it will be too late and his mixtape will be out. The tape's lead single, What It's Like, dropped on September the 2nd, 2019, and the music video for that song would feature that video of his ops saying that he was responsible for the killing of Can't Get Right, as well as footage from his arrest in O-Block and courtroom footage from the Atlanta case with Lil Durk. This song is an introspective and deep track about what it's really like living the gang life in Chicago. Von would rap about getting to jail and being given knives to defend himself, ops trying to work out who killed their friends, and rapping that when he was in jail, he caught somebody who killed one of his friends and beat them up, even saying that he was in jail with D. Rose, that same shooter who was allegedly at the scene of the Lil Marc murder with Von, rapping that he was there in a cell when D. Rose got sentenced to 40 years in prison for a 2014 murder of a teenager, with Von rapping that witnessing D. Rose get sentenced to all of these years really hurt his soul. Von would end that song with a heartfelt outro, saying that the same cops that locked up his friends D. Rose, C-Day, and Rondo No. 9 told him that they were out to get him too after he caught his murder in 2014. Von said that the cops were trying to catch him and his friends like it was a game, but really, this was just Von taunting those cops who were never able to catch him for the things he'd allegedly done. Ironically, just the day after dropping a song about the cops trying to arrest him, the cops would arrest Von for battery on September 3rd, 2019, after apparently beating up a man who called his girlfriend Asian Doll a bitch in the studio, with Von admitting openly on Instagram Live that he just beat somebody up for his girlfriend.
Somebody called my girlfriend a bitch today. Tell him what happened to my hand, bro.
Folks overbeat his ass.
Von would be in jail and not posting to his own Twitter account for just over a month, but while he was inside, his music kept on releasing, all in the lead up to his Grandson Volume 1 mixtape. On September the 10th, 2019, Von would appear on a song called For a Fact with another rapper called Sim Santana, and on this song, Von would rap that he's killed and would do it again, as well as a lyric where he says that all of his bodies are headshots, and that tweeting about the murders has attracted the attention of the cops, as well as lines about catching ops and killing them by bus stops, seemingly a reference to the death of Lil Marc. But it would be 3 days later when Von would bless the fans with the song that they had been truly waiting for, as Crazy Story Part 3 was finally released. This was another op-shooting, storytelling anthem, and the most significant release leading up to September 19, when his Grandson Volume 1 mixtape would come out. This was a roaring debut for Von, with the project landing at number 75 on the Billboard 200, and this project had some crazy song concepts, like the track F Your Man, which is a love song, where Von raps about seducing a woman with a boyfriend and vowing to kill him for her, along with numerous lyrics about killing ops and catching bodies, as well as shooting up funerals. He also had another song with Lil Durk.
No, it's the same song again.
What gonna be your whore? Now get that feeling.
Oh, I get it. It's a role model because you shouldn't drive and text at once.
Called Twin Them, where Durk says that Von shoots people and that they got caught shooting on camera with no masks on, seemingly a reference to their Atlanta shooting case. Von raps outright that he tries to kill people, ironically saying that he can't speak on what he's doing because the feds are watching him, you know, whilst rapping about what he's doing on his Billboard charting mixtape. He also had the pop rap love song No Flaws, where he sings to a woman about how dangerous and handsome he is. He also had a song Mama's Boy, where he says that his mother is who raised him into the robbing savage that he is today. He also references beating up K.I. on the train on this song. Von was putting out a lot of bold statements on this project, and surprisingly, with all of this coming out whilst he was still behind bars. Eventually, Von would get out of jail on October the 10th, 2019, being released and returning to Twitter immediately, continuing to push and promote his new mixtape, as well as announcing that he would be going on tour to perform his new hits live. And Von would go on to play huge shows with his fans going crazy, and he would waste no time beginning to tease new music soon after his mixtape dropped. Specifically, the first single of his next project, titled 2 AM, a song where Von rapped the brazen lyric, "Can't put no more guns in my videos, cause the ATF and DEA know they ain't props." And after this release, Von would claim to be receiving multi-million-dollar record deal offers. But while Von was getting more and more famous, so too were the rumors of him being a real killer, and his incriminating lyrics weren't helping matters either. During this period, it seemed like Von would simultaneously be claiming to have really done all of these murders in his music, but then at other times, being desperately trying to convince his following that he never did anything. On his November 29th release, the song Rollin' with fellow rapper and accused double murderer YNW Melly, Von would rap that he has killed so many people they should call him Rambo, and saying, "I did it, but it wasn't me," which perfectly sums up his attitude during this time, jumping on songs and saying over and over again that he really is the killer they say he is, and then jumping on Twitter to say that he would never do—
I'm pausing here, I'll finish this tomorrow or something. Guys, it's Tram. There's an update apparently. I downloaded the update, but I'm not playing. Wait, season 1? Wait, I thought we were on season 1.